to Monin Park here on the campus of Boston College High School. It's UMass Boston and Brandeis University. The Beacons coming off a cold-weathered win over LaSalle College last Thursday. Brandeis looking for that first win. They've been off for almost 2 weeks, and now they return to New England for the rest of their season. My name is Seth Dorensky, joined by Josh Bartley. First off, Josh, thanks so much for joining us here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Thanks, Seth. Thanks for the opportunity. A little bit different being on this side of the glass.
Yeah, Josh, the longtime UMass Boston softball coach and UMass Boston women's basketball coach. Real quick, before we get to the anthem, let's take a look at the all-time series. It's a Brandeis tilted all-time series. Brandeis has won 5 of 6, including a pretty bad one last year, a 19-9 win over the Beacons, in which they scored all 19 runs in the first 7 innings. They were ahead 19-3 through 6.5. Anytime you lose that badly, especially on your home field, there's probably a little bit want for redemption in the next time around.
Especially when you play so well at home and you remember the losses vividly, especially a loss like that.
This Brandeis team, one of 6 teams to beat the Beacons at home last season. The Beacons up and down to start the year. Take a look at our 4 things to know, and it shows 15-9 overall, including a lot of wins over regionally and nationally ranked programs. 2 very different looking rosters. The Beacons returned 24 players from last year's NCAA regional team. Brandeis, first winning season in a while, but losing 15 of their 23 players. It's a very young team for second-year head coach Derek Carlson, and how much pressure does that put, especially early on this season, not only on the coaching staff, but on some of the older guys to step up?
Well, you're using these games early in the season to figure out what type of team you're going to be individually, what kind of players you have. And you put a lot of pressure on those seniors, those upperclassmen, to show the way. Unfortunately for Coach Carlson, there's not a ton of experience coming back this year.
Carlson, a Brandeis alum, 1991, took over for one of the longtime head coaches at Brandeis, one of the legends of the game. He took over for Pete Varney, who spent 34 years at Brandeis, a 705 record, 705, 528, and 6, 12 NCAA appearances overall. Right now, we'll take a look after the national anthem at the lineups and starting pitchers here from Monin Park. .185 as a team, slugging just under 200, an on-base percentage under 300, and just 1 extra base hit in their 4 losses, all coming against Augustana University of Illinois down in Florida. All 4 of those games played in Winter Haven between the 20th and 23rd of February, so maybe coming back to a colder environment, but getting an extra 2 weeks of batting practice will help out this team. Take a look at the starting lineup on your screen, and the top 7 hitters from last year's team in terms of plate appearances all gone, but they bring back a couple of guys who did see a lot of time, Ryan Tedemer and Kyle Lucier. You see the Beacons' defensive alignment right now, and it's a veteran group. Joey Rogers, the only guy who didn't see starts in last season.
Well, I tell you what, having the inexperience in this case might be a good thing. These guys don't know any better. They come out, they play, they're back home, going down to Florida for the first time. In your first collegiate experiences, in a lot of cases with these guys, maybe the nerves aren't here anymore. They're back home. It's a nice day. You're back in Boston. Maybe the bats get woken up for them.
We got a different view of a nice day here in New England than most. It's in the 30s, but there's not very much wind, just 5 to 10 miles per hour. The Beacons will start J.T. Moore, the sophomore out of Wilton, Connecticut, who was the Beacons' second best starter a year ago. This season, after having the entire fall off, getting some rest, the sophomore southpaw hitting up to 92 on the gun, and he had quite the season as a freshman. 13 games, 9 starts, 5-0, the best record on the team, 16 and third innings, 62 strikeouts versus just 8 walks, a 3.88 ERA, 9.25 Ks per 9, and allowed 59 hits, 26 runs. This is a guy who the Beacons should have some pretty high expectations for after last year, and the fact that he wasn't healthy at all last season after pitching Wilton all the way to a state title. a lot of times you see that a player maybe overexerts themselves trying to win that state title as a senior. They might be a little banged up coming in, and now he gets a year of strength and conditioning. The Beacons think that he could be even better as a sophomore.
Well, and they're going to rely on him. I mean, anytime you can put a lefty out there that throws with that velocity, that's something that you don't necessarily see a ton of at this level.
Judges, and he topped the first inning with the shortstop, number 4, Jay Schaff.
First pitch to Jay Schaff is a little bit high for ball one. The Beacons defensively, Herzog in left, Frashino in center, and Rogers in right. A trio of lefties. Along the infield, Kyle Boudris, Dave Murphy, Charlie Hughey, and Luke Nagel, with Anthony Searles behind the plate. 1-1 pitch is on the outside corner for strike 2 to Schaff. The senior infielder out of Cheshire, Connecticut, attended Xavier High School. Schaff's one of those guys who struggled down in Florida. 1-2 offering, fouled off towards the Beacons dugout. No harm there.
Almost lost an assistant coach.
Kevin Kelly, the longtime Beacons assistant, who's in charge of defensive positioning. Schaff down in Florida, 15 at-bats, went 4 for 15 with 3 runs scored. The team's lone extra base hit a double, had 1 walk and 3 strikeouts, hitting .267, which is actually one of the better totals on the team.
One of the few experienced players being a senior. You look for him to set the tone here.
Schaff last year appeared in 30 games, but just 93 at-bats. Hit .280 on the season. He's even at 2-2 here. A weak grounder over to second. Hughey will charge. Picks it up on a couple bounces and an easy put out at first base for the first out of today's non-conference contest.
And now the second baseman, number 10, Victor Oppenheimer.
So it'll bring Victor Oppenheimer to the plate, hitting just 143 on the year, 2 for 14 in 4 games. 2 runs, 2 doubles, or 2 walks, 5 Ks, and 1 stolen base. If you're Brandeis, obviously getting those extra cuts in the batting cage or out on the field are going to help, but maybe do you change your game plan a bit facing off against this tough lefty, maybe playing a little bit more small ball today?
A little bit more small ball, trying to manufacture some type of offense. With the struggles they had down in Florida, I mean, they need to try to score any way that they can. I mean, you can have as much batting practice as you can do over these last 2 weeks. You're not gonna simulate what you're seeing out here on the mound right now.
Morin hit up to 92 in the Beacon scrimmage 2 weeks ago. Granted, that was also in much warmer temperatures, as his 1-1 a bit high with the fastball. 2-1 here to the 2-hole hitter. Oppenheimer to be followed by Dan O'Leary, Ryan Teddimer, Marvick Gomez, Anthony Namako, Joshua Rakowski, Brian Shaw, and Kyle Lucier, who's the lone player on the team to be hitting over 300 through 4 games. 2-1 pitch, bounces up there, and that one's got to hurt, as that one looks like it caught our home plate umpire, Rick Delvecchio. Frank Auditor is on the bases, and Anthony Searles, the Beacon senior captain, will give Delvecchio a little bit of time. 3-1 here to the 2-hole hitter. What do you expect Oppenheimer to be looking for at this point?
Well, he's obviously looking hard. I mean, the guy's going to throw a strike here. He's looking to put something in play. Like we said, they're looking to manufacture. We're not looking for a huge base hit here. They want to get themselves rolling any way that they can.
Oppenheimer, freshman, 5'8", 175 out of West Hills, California, takes the 3-1 pitch and fouls it off. It looks like he got that fastball a bit off the plate and went for it anyway.
Saw the pitch, probably what he was looking for a little bit, just couldn't get around quick enough.
Oppenheimer will be the other half of the double play combo today, with Schaff playing it short. Morin's 3-2 offering, a little bit inside, ball 4. So that's a rare walk, especially considering that Morin allowed just 8 walks in 60 innings. We don't have the wind that affected the game on Thursday. The Beacons had a lot more control issues, but even in temperatures this cold, high of 38, 39 today with the temperatures dropping as the sun will go down, how much harder does this make on pitchers to get that good grip to really have as much control as they would on, say, a 70, 80-degree day?
Well, it's getting the grip. It's taking a little bit longer to warm up. I mean, and like you said, the grip is huge. It's everything for a pitcher. If you can't get that grip, you can't trust a pitch, then you're looking for something else. Obviously, everybody would love to pitch in 75 and sunny, but living here in New England, that's not always the case.
Morin quickly back ahead 0-2. He made O'Leary look silly with the first pitch swing, and then O'Leary takes the second one. Dan, another one of the freshmen on this team. They brought in a ton of them after losing 15 players from last year's team. 16 freshmen on the roster. O'Leary, a freshman out of Linfield, Mass, 6'1", 195. Behind 0-2. Flares that one out to right. This could be trouble. Rogers is not going to get there. Takes it on a bounce. And there's 2 on with 1 out. The first hit of the day for Dan O'Leary, who down in Florida hit just .231, 3 for 13. So he picks up the 4th hit of his collegiate career.
And this is what they wanted to do. This is what Brandeis wanted to come out and do: is get runners on however they can. You work a 1-out walk. You fight off a pitch into right field, and all of a sudden you've got 2 runners on with your cleanup batter up.
Tedimer, one of the rare seniors on this team, a senior out of Westfield, Mass, 6'1", 205 out of Suffield Academy. The lefty takes the ball in the turf. There's no dirt on this field except for the mound. This is a second-year complex, Monin Park, a mini replica of Fenway. A left field monster, just 10 feet shorter. That's pretty much the only change in terms of the dimensions. The 1-0 is high. Throw down to first, and the throw gets him. Despite being a high throw and wide, the runner was so far off there, Dan O'Leary, and he's going to be called out. So that's big. Anthony Searles able to pick off Dan O'Leary. That one will go 2-3, and the Beacons now have 2 down with just 1 runner on.
That's a huge out for UMass. I mean, we had just talked about Brandeis and what they wanted to do, getting 2 runners on early. You're able to race 1 defensively. It's huge.
Tedimer hitting .214 on the year, 3 for 14 with 2 runs and 2 RBI. He's ahead in the count 3-0, but now instead of possibly loading the bases, the Beacons can be careful here. Although UMass Boston should like the matchup lefty on lefty with the speed that Morin has. He's just struggled with his command a little bit, already with 1 walk in the inning. So that breaking ball catches the inside corner, 3-1.
You were key on it when you talked about the grip of the baseball. I think he's fighting it a little bit right now, trying to find that grip, and it's shown. When he's got it, he's shown to be pinpoint here, but it's not consistent yet.
Tedimer hit .230 as a junior, 20 for 87, had 3 home runs and 8 RBI. Takes that fastball apparently a little bit high. That one looked very close to down the middle. And already 2 walks for JT Morin. We saw the Beacons throw 2 of their top starters from a year ago on Thursday. Both guys, Dan Mantoni and Fernando Burgos, were roughed up a little bit more than we're used to seeing. So we cannot overstate the issues with the potential weather. There's 2 on now for the second time, but with 2 outs after the pickoff of Dan O'Leary. And it brings up the designated hitter, Marvick Gomez. Marvick, senior, went 14 of 54 a year ago, hit .259. 2017, he's 2 for 15, hitting .133 with 1 run and 1 RBI. A guy that Brandeis is obviously trying to get going, putting him in the lineup despite the slow start. 0-1 pitch to him, another bouncer. Searles able to knock that one down, and it's 1-1 to Marvick, senior out of Providence, Rhode Island, 6', 200 out of Juanita Sanchez High School. One with 2 down. That one's hit softly up the middle. Hughie's going to get there, and he'll take it himself. So Morin puts 3 runners on, able to get out of it with no damage. We'll head to the bottom of the first, and we'll see the Beacons starting 9 for the first time, coming up to the plate against Brandeis's Sean O'Neill.
Beauty, style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
Welcome back to Monin Park. We'll take a look at the Beacons starting nine. Not a ton of changes from the win over LaSalle on Thursday, an 11-6 victory. The only change, the first baseman Luke Nagel, the senior captain, will start in place of Chris Fowler. Nagel had a pinch hit RBI walk with the bases loaded in the 8th inning as the Beacons pulled away a little bit from the Lasers. They'll go with Sal Frascino up top. Dan Mantoni not starting as the pitcher today. He'll just be the designated hitter. David Murphy, Kyle Boudris, Anthony Searles, Charlie Hughey, Luke Nagel, and Nick Herzog and Joey Rogers at the bottom. Right now we'll take a look at the starting pitcher for Brandeis. This is one of the guys who had a little bit of success down in Florida. As a team, they had an ERA over 4, but you look at Sean O'Neill, and decent numbers down in Florida. O'Neill in his one outing, 4 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 8 Ks versus 2 walks, 15.3 Ks per 9 in very limited work, and did not give up a run. So we'll see what the righty has when he faces Frascino, Mantoni, and Murphy. Apparently a little bit of pace behind that first pitch as he nearly caught Sal Frascino on the left-hander batting box.
This is someone that they need. I mean, with the offensive struggles, they need O'Neill to come out and establish himself early.
O'Neill gets a swing and a miss with his second pitch. Last year, O'Neill appeared in just 2 games, went 1-0, started 2 games, 13 innings, 8.31 Ks per 9, 6 runs, 6 earned, 1 walk versus those 12 Ks. He's ahead 1-2 here. This Brandeis team not only lost 7 of their top hitters, but they've also lost their ace and their closer. So got to get some production. And Frascino not too happy with that one. Looked pretty far outside, but that's going to be something the hitters have to adjust to as Rick Del Vecchio establishes that strike zone early. And as a coach yourself on the softball diamond, how much do you think the umpires take into account the conditions or maybe the sun going down on a field that doesn't have lights and maybe change the strike zone, whether that's fair or not?
It's human nature. It's human nature. I mean, when you're playing in these conditions, you expect to, or you want to, get in, get out, and get on.
Mantoni quickly behind 0-2. 2-time All-Region pick, 3-time All-Conference. He's the Beacons' top pitcher, designated hitter who can also play first, second, and third. Mantoni out of Northbridge, Massachusetts, fouls that one off. In his 3rd season as a captain on this team. Had a decent day against LaSalle. Stayed in after being pulled as the pitcher. Mantoni hit 300 a season ago. I was like, trying to find the right statistics about that LaSalle game. Long look here from O'Neill. He's ahead 0-2, and outside of that first pitch strike the first pitch that almost hit Frascino, he seems to have pretty good control in the early going, as that one is well outside. The old broadcaster's curse.
You jinxed him there, Seth.
Looking at Mantoni, 2 for 5 against LaSalle with 1 run, 1 double, 1 RBI, and 1 strikeout. 1-2 offering, swung on and missed. Mantoni can't believe it, and he's down on strikes. Back-to-back strikeouts for Sean O'Neill, and it'll bring the Beacons' biggest bat, Dave Murphy, to the plate, who slugged .600 last year, including .800 here at home. Murphy, 9 home runs, and what do you think Dan Mantoni was just telling Murphy as he headed to the bench?
Pick out the first good one. I think that, like you said, after that first pitch that flew inside to Frascino and then the one you jinxed him on, Seth, I think that he's shown pretty good command. So he's pounding the strike zone, so we've got to go up there looking to hit the first pitch.
And he gets a first pitch strike on the outside corner. Murphy, a Massasoit Community College transfer, has been named an all-region pick all 3 of his seasons. As O'Neill asked where that pitch was, apparently just a little bit low. O'Neill's a guy who works quickly, and that's going to be to the benefit of everybody involved on a cold day. Swing and a miss there, 1-2, pounding the fastball past Murphy. That's normally his go-to pitch to hit out of the park, but instead a good look there from Sean O'Neill. The 1-2 offering, that one maybe a little bit low. That was very close in the outside corner.
You know, when a pitcher asks an umpire on a ball where the pitch was, whether it was up, out, whatever, I don't think umpires take too kindly to that. And like I said, it's human nature to remember things like that.
2-2 down, no one on. That breaking ball well outside. And Murphy, the first batter to reach 3 balls here. If he were to reach, Kyle Boudris, the Beacons cleanup hitter and third baseman, due up next. Bottom of the first, knotted at zeros here in Brandeis' New England opener, the Beacons' second game of the year. Murphy pops that one up a mile high, well out of play. And that one looks like it's going to make its way just outside the park. A sunny March day here in Boston. Cold temperatures, but fortunately the wind's mostly dead as the flags aren't flying nearly as hard as they were the other day. Another foul ball, this one off the high fencing behind home plate as Murphy looks to make O'Neill work a little bit here. Sean, a junior out of Reading, Massachusetts, Reading Memorial High School, 6', 190, and that one's hit softly towards the left side. Long throw, and it's not going to be made. Jay Schaff couldn't quite get his footing, and that's a 2-out single for Dave Murphy. As it's interesting, Schaff was really far up the middle there, not looking for Murphy to pull the ball, and it gave Murphy plenty of time to get over to first base to give the Beacons their first base runner.
I think he was playing the pitch. I think they were pounding the outside of the zone and expected him not to pull. Murphy got around on it and got the defense in a bad shift.
Boudris will line that one out to left center. That's going to get down, and the Beacons have a chance to score their first run. Ryan Tedderman, the center fielder, picks it up. Murphy's going to be waved home. The throw to Schaff. Schaff's relay throw. It's going to be up the line. One bounce, and the catcher can't handle it. It's a 2-out double for Dave Murphy, and the Beacons take a 1-0 lead as Boudris advances to third on the throw. Take a look at that RBI double from Kyle Boudris when we get a chance, but UMass Boston, nothing with their first 2 batters, able to use an infield single and a hard hit ball on the first pitch. Maybe the Beacons taking advantage, knowing he's pounding the strike zone, and Boudris able to put it right in between the center fielder and left fielder.
I think Boudris had seen the first 3 batters, and O'Neill had come in just pounding the zone, trying to establish his command there, and he jumped on the first one.
See what Anthony Searles can do. The catcher had 2 triples in the Beacons opener. Made even more impressive by the fact that his first 3 seasons, Searles, who started 2.5 of those seasons, had just 3 triples. So using a little bit of the wind, but also showing that he has a bit of speed as he's even the count at 1-1. Anthony out of Shelton, Connecticut, another one of those seniors on this Beacons roster that had just 2 a year ago and went 30-16, earning the program's and the school's first ever at-large bid. Talk about at-large bids. That's what Brandeis needs. This program and this UAA conference, the University Athletic Association, do not have the minimum of 7 teams to get an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. As Searles hits it softly over to first. And we'll take a look at that RBI double as we head to break as UMass Boston leads 1-0 on the Kyle Boudris RBI double.
To the bottom of the first inning, they score 1 run on 2 hits. There were no Brandeis errors, and there was
Celebrate the soggy shoes and the slow starts. Celebrate the lessons learned along the way. These are the wins. Not the shiny, nail-biting kind. These are the last a lifetime kind.
UMass Boston after one. The Beacons getting a 2-out infield single from Dave Murphy and then a double from Kyle Boudris that scored Murphy all the way from first base. JT Morin will face 6, 7, 8 in the lineup for Brandeis. Anthony D'Amico, Joshua Rakowski, and Brian Shaw. The Beacons lefty worked around some trouble in the first inning, a pair of walks and a single, but a big pickoff by Anthony Searles at first base of Dan O'Leary alleviated some of the pressure. Already down one, how important is it to potentially get a run back? You look at Brandeis down against Augustana. It was a good team. Don't know a lot about them being from Illinois, but when you look at their record overall, they're 8-1, which means they went 4-1 against other competition. This team only held leads in their last 2 games. They gave up a couple of late leads. They haven't scored a ton of runs. They scored 1 in their opener, 3 in Game 2, 4 in Game 3, 2 in Game 4. How pertinent is it not only to keep this a low-scoring game, but to also keep this game even or potentially lead for as long as possible to get a little bit of that confidence up after losing 4 straight to start the season with a young team?
Well, especially with the young team. You just said it. I mean, this young team hasn't played ahead hardly at all this year. To have a chance to score there in the first, to have a runner picked off, lose an opportunity to score there, and then to give up 1 in the bottom of the first, is huge for a mindset. They need to get on the board here, just to mentally get themselves back in the game. What they don't want to do is allow UMass to have a quick inning here, get back up and put a couple more on the board.
Anthony D'Amico quickly ahead 2-0. The senior left fielder / pitcher out of Westfield, Mass. Attended Northfield Mount Herman School. Takes that fastball on the outside corner. D'Amico 5'11", 195. Appeared in 3 of the 4 games down in Florida. Just 1 for 7 with 1 walk and 3 strikeouts, hitting 143. The entire team really struggled to hit. Just 185 down in Florida. And you have to figure the colder weather, it doesn't affect the batter as much as the pitcher, but still going to sting a little bit when you hit the ball, whether you're wearing the gloves or not, which D'Amico will forego the batting gloves today. I'm not sure if that's the smartest decision, but certainly it makes it hard if you're a batter to keep your hands warm, to keep the same kind of focus you normally would have as he takes another pitch on the outside corner and it runs full. D'Amico to be followed by the first baseman Rakowski and then the catcher Shaw. If it gets there, Kyle Lucier's the team's top hitter. He's hitting 9th and playing third base. 3-2 offer to D'Amico, fouled off, and we'll do it again. Just to our left, the UMass Boston lacrosse team is warming up. They'll take on Daniel Webster College in about 35 minutes. The Beacons 1-0, just like the baseball team, after a come-from-behind 12-11 win over New England College. Here's the 3-2 offer to D'Amico. That one's down the middle. D'Amico thought it was a little low. He's not going to get the call. The first strikeout of 2017 for JT Morin. And the Beacons get the first out of the inning.
The first baseman, number 30, Joshua Rakowski.
That'll bring up Joshua Rakowski, another guy who's foregoing the batting gloves. I like the look. I don't know if I love the idea today, though. Rakowski 1 for 8 with an RBI, 5 Ks and 1 walk. He's caught stealing once down in Florida as Rakowski appeared in all 4 games. Joshua, a freshman out of New Fairfield, Connecticut, fouls that one off on the right side. Stands at 6', 175. This Brandeis team 19-17-1 last year. Their best season in a while. It was just their 3rd winning season since 2006. Their first since 2011. They made it to the ECAC tournament before being knocked off by Maine Maritime. Here's a swing and a miss. And it's 0-2 quickly to Rakowski, the 7-hole hitter. Seems like Morin doesn't quite have the grip yet, but he's doing a nice job of mixing up the speeds to confuse some of these Brandeis hitters. So that one's almost in the same spot, but high with the fastball, 1-2.
It'll be huge for them to get out of this inning, like I said, mentally. keep this young Brandeis team off the board.
The 1-2 offering with one down. That one just off the corner. Anthony Searles framed it for a while. Doesn't get the call, and it runs 2-2.
Morin wanted that one. He's taking a couple extra seconds behind the mound. Regather himself.
Yeah, JT with the long flow sort of shook the head a little bit there. Not happy with the call. Breaking ball. The Beacons thought he went. The base umpire disagrees. That's Frank Auditor over there at first base, and the count runs full. That pitch, though, had a ton of break, and a nice job by Rakowski to avoid going there. I think a lot of guys would typically fall for that breaking ball. Second consecutive full count, 3-2 pitch on the inside corner. Back-to-back strikeouts looking the first two of the day and of the season for JT Morin, and he's not pitching as effectively as Sean O'Neill, but once again, some umpires want these guys to swing. Doesn't matter that it's college, MLB. You want to see action, and right now, Brandeis paying for it a little bit, looking for the walk. We've already seen them walk twice through the opening inning and 2/3. First pitch is high to Brian Shaw, the catcher. Shaw appeared in just 2 games down in Florida, 1 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Did work 1 walk. Swings and misses at that, 1-1. Shaw, another one of those freshmen. They start quite a few of them. 5'10", 175 out of Conway, Mass. Another product out of Northfield Mount Herman Schools. Takes another breaking ball just low. And that one, another pitch where if JT Morin was firing, this guy is showing that he really does have quite the arsenal of pitches. His control's not quite there. 2-1 is flared out to center. Fershino coming in on it, and he makes the play. A 1-2-3 inning. So after walking 2 and giving up a single in the first, a clean 1-2-3 inning here in the second. We head to the bottom of the second. The Beacons will bring 6, 7, 8 to the plate, already leading 1-0.
Cheer for the stumbles. The he shoulda had that's. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
About to get started in the bottom of the second, but first, Josh, take us through that second strikeout by JT Morin, who looked a lot better in the second than he did in the first.
Well, like you said, first inning he comes out, he fighting for grip a little bit. Second inning he established himself a little bit more. I think he's working through it right now, working through some things, especially in the cold weather. And he hasn't pitched in game action against an opponent in a long time. Mentally, it's probably nice to get back out on the mound, but there comes a little bit of mental getting used to back to the field. He's got to establish both sides of the plate. As hard as he throws, you can throw as hard as you want, but you got to establish both sides. He set that second batter up with that pitch that just missed that you talked about that broke down and in a ton. He came right back in on the inside part of the plate with a little bit less break. I think the batter was looking for the ball to break down, froze him a little bit, and he got the inside call.
On the other side, Sean O'Neill, the junior, had not given up a run in Florida in 4 2/3 innings. Started 1 game, gets a swing and a miss here from Charlie Hughey. Picked up his 9th and 10th strikeouts in 5 1/3 innings, but then gives up back-to-back hits. He's now given up a run here to start his junior season. How important is it for him, not just for this team, but for Sean to get a solid inning here for his confidence after pitching so well down in Florida? You don't want to give up ton of runs to this Beacons team as that one softly hit. The shortstop shaft charges. His throw across beats Hughey to the bag, and the Beacons have the first batter retired of inning number 2, 6-3.
Well, we've talked about their offensive struggles, and like we said, the important thing for them is to make sure that it stays a close game, low-scoring game. So to limit these guys, to limit UMass Boston in the early innings, it would be huge for Brandeis.
Bring up Luke Nagel, the only guy who was not in the starting lineup for UMass Boston against LaSalle, who's in the starting lineup today. Nagel only played in 10 games a year ago, limited because of a shoulder injury, got surgery, and is back for a super senior year. Nagel, the senior out of Pembroke, Mass., attended Massasoit Community College, 6'1", 205, hit .300 with quite a few home runs and RBI his first season with the Beacons. He takes that one on the outside corner, 2-1. Had only one plate appearance against LaSalle, a bases loaded walk, so has an RBI already on the year. And having a guy like Luke back helps this offense so much because provides another powerful hitter in the middle, but it also gives you a guy with Chris Fowler also battling for that first base spot with maybe a pinch hitter with some pop, and a guy who can fill in not only at first base but also the DH role.
Anytime you've got a guy like that that's able to come off the bench or come in and start, experience, power off the bench, versatility, it's always a plus as a coach.
3-2. Nagel almost another assistant coach a year ago as he takes that one for strike 3 on the outside corner. Thought it was a little bit low. It's already the third strikeout of the day for O'Neal, who's now retired 3 in a row after giving up the back-to-back hits. And I think when you're forced to sit out, maybe you learn a little bit from the coaching staff, just absorbing. We'll see how Nagel does with his second senior year. A big swing and a miss from Herzog, who comes out looking for that first pitch strike, pitch a little bit further outside than maybe he expected, but also the Beacons haven't been able to catch up to some of these fastballs from Sean O'Neal. There's the breaking ball hit out to second. Oppenheimer has some time, and the throw across. Both teams go down 1-2-3 here in the second. We're moving at a pretty good pace as we head to the third. UMass Boston 1, Brandeis 0 here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
Taking a look ahead for UMass Boston, they play their final game in New England before Florida tomorrow against MIT, team that's traditionally towards the top of the NEWMAC conference. Team UMass Boston christened Monin Park last year with a near no-hitter, a 4-0 win on opening day. Then they head to Florida. This is a bit of a briefer trip than usual for the Beacons. They'll take on DeSales on Friday, and then Rowan, Nichols, Curry, SUNY Oswego, Wheaton, another regional power out of the NEWMAC, and UW Oshkosh. How much does this help? I mean, you know it as the softball coach. How much can you imagine this would help the baseball team getting some looks, and instead of going down to Florida and potentially play a team that's on game 6 of their Florida trip, doesn't matter. The Beacons have gotten a couple games in. They've maybe worked out some kinks or know where the kinks need to be fixed, and it gives them advantage. Last year, that 30-16 record with some big wins in Florida, some big wins early on in the season, helped them earn that at large bid. Obviously, beating Southern Maine 3 times didn't hurt either.
Well, of course, and Coach Eichelberg always goes down and plays a pretty tough schedule down in Florida. And being able to get out on the field a couple times, seeing competition up here in New England before you head down there is huge. Anytime you can pick up wins down in Florida is big. Being able to get some games in before you even head down there, that's huge. And I think it's no coincidence that they were able to do that last year, open up the park, play a couple games, go down to Florida, play well, and sort of get on a roll and have a great season last year.
Beacons won their first ever regular season title a year ago, fell in the LEC tournament to Western Connecticut State, a team that had their number, beat them 4 times in 4 tries. Kyle Lucier steps up, the 9-hole hitter. Sophomore third baseman out of Hingham, Mass. 6 foot 185, quickly ahead 2-0. Hits it softly over to the shortstop Murphy, picks it up on 2 bounces, throws it across. And JT Morin has now retired 5 in a row, as we'll see the top of the order for the second time around. Lucier was really the only hitter who had a semi-successful Florida trip. This Lucier hit over 300, but the rest of the team can't emphasize it enough. 185. It puts pressure on the pitching, puts pressure on the defense. So we'll see Schaff come up for the second time. Rounded out to the second baseman to lead off this game. Takes a high fastball.
Well, sometimes as a hitter, you know stats. These guys know their stats, and the bigger hole that you dig yourself statistically, the more pressure you put on yourself. And when everybody's struggling, you just feel that pressure as a team.
1-1 now to Schaff as Morin catches the inside corner. How much harder is it as a coach when you have, all these Brandeis kids, they're smart. They got into Brandeis. Normally, the kids who are more statistically focused are the kids who are sometimes a little bit smarter. How much harder is it to have a team full of smart kids where maybe they're even more likely to focus on the stats? Sometimes the kids that don't focus on stats are the kids that maybe don't feel the pressure as much. There's a swing and a miss on a pitch that was well outside.
That's absolutely right. A lot of times sports comes down to the less you think, the better off you are, especially when you're struggling like this. The more you're focused mentally on your struggles, oftentimes the more you're going to struggle. So to get this slump out of these guys' heads is the first key.
Schaff goes down swinging. That's the third strikeout for Morin, third in the last 5 batters, and first by way of the swinging. Bring up Oppenheimer, who walked, was the first base runner of the day for Brandeis, and then was stranded at third base. Swings and fouls that one off down the third base line. Brandeis in their second year under head coach Derek Carlson. It's a transition. Last season inherited a lot but lost 8 seniors, 2 grad students, 5 other players not back for various reasons, including the conference rookie of the year. Benjamin Bavley, the team's catcher, was also an all-conference player. So you lose 2 all-conference seniors, including your ace and one of the top hitters in the conference, and then you lose a guy who was supposed to be your future. Potentially Bavley will be back. I couldn't find anything about him transferring, but that puts so much more pressure on the core of guys who maybe weren't starters last year. Now they have to be stars on this team to succeed, as it's quickly 1-2 to Oppenheimer.
Well, and I think that's the problem right now is they haven't had.
Ball flared out to right. Rogers a couple steps back and will make the catch. Josh, if you want to finish your thought, there's nowhere we have to go. No commercials that are being paid for by our various sponsors.
They haven't had anybody establish themselves as that go-to player yet, offensively, defensively. O'Neill has pitched well up until this point, but we're 5 games into the season. He needs to continue to do so. That's why I think there's a ton of pressure on him today, and he's doing well so far. But to get through this lineup, as he gets through the lineup the second time, as it turns over here, he needs to make sure that he continues to establish himself and keep this a close game.
We'll take a look at Sean O'Neill's third strikeout. He was able to get Luke Nagel on a pitch on the outside corner. And that one, it's a little bit difficult to tell the height on some of those balls from our up-top camera angle, but it looked like it was right there on the corner. O'Neill has pitched well through the first 2 innings thus far. He's given up just the 2 hits. Unfortunately, back-to-back hits, including the double with 2 down. That's the only reason that Murphy was able to score on a play that was close, but the relay throw from Jay Schaff was just a little bit late. UMass Boston leading 1-0, and they'll send 9-1-2 to the plate, and this is where the Beacons really are happy with the way their lineup works out. Joey Rogers, a freshman who led his team to a state title a year ago as both a pitcher and an outfielder. Rogers, a freshman out of Dighton, Mass, Dighton Rehoboth High School, and while Rogers did not have a hit the other day, he did have a couple sacrifices, some good at-bats, able to move guys over, and he has tremendous speed. This is your prototypical, talk about it in softball, talk about it in baseball, when you have the designated hitter, a guy who turns over the lineup, and one of the few guys who can actually keep up with Sal Frascino, the leadoff hitter. Don't have to worry about Sal potentially lapping a slow 9-hole hitter.
This is the second leadoff hitter. That's exactly right. The more he can get on base, the more you can then manufacture runs.
Soft grounder over to Lucier, and Rogers is retired as he still looks for that first collegiate hit. Joey is a guy who UMass Boston will use on the mound. Beacons go a little bit deeper in the starting rotation this year. They bring back Dan Mantoni and JT Moore and their top 2 pitchers, their weekend guys. They bring back Fernando Burgos, the reigning Rookie of the Year. Brian Kaufman, a guy who went in between starting and middle relief. And they also add a couple guys. Frashino, the drag butt near side. O'Neill picks it up. Is he going to get there in time? Yes, just barely beating Sal Frashino over there at first. Very good job fielding the position by O'Neill as Frashino can fly. Maybe didn't drag that one as much as he would like, though. That one a little bit closer to the mound than the first baseline.
If he gets that ball down the line, if he keeps it, hugs it to the line right there, he's safe. I mean, there's no question. He just happened to not get around on it quick enough and pulled it right back to the pitcher.
Talk about the Beacons' starting pitching depth. They also have Matt Tully, the Virginia Tech/Rollins College transfer, and Joey Rogers. So UMass Boston really comfortable with their top 5 or 6 starting pitchers, something that Brendan Eigerbolt's really never had before, and this field has made recruiting so much easier. So the 0-1 to Mantoni swung on and missed. When you can show a recruit this, it doesn't matter what the temperature is, all of the construction back on campus is UMass Boston very much in the middle of restoring and rebranding their campus. It just gives you so many opportunities to just focus on one thing, a thing the Beacons didn't have for the first 11 years of Brendan Eigerbolt's tenure, a home field.
Right. It's a game changer. I mean, a complete game changer for Coach Eigerbolt in a good way. You're able to show somebody a mini version of Fenway Park, a replica of Fenway Park, a turf field that you can play on in all kinds of weather, which is so important in New England. Complete game changer for him recruiting-wise. 1-2
pitch just off the corner. O'Neill walking towards the plate. Really thought that he had strike 3. Mantoni went down swinging his first at bat. The Beacons starting pitcher /DH. Guy who can also play anywhere defensively, but the Beacons trying to save his arm for Saturdays. 2-2 pitch to Dan. That one a little bit low. O'Neill liked it again, and it's 3-2 here. This is where O'Neill got in trouble in the first inning, gave up a 2-out infield single, and then a double. Dave Murphy looms in the on-deck circle. 3-2, 2 down. UMass Boston already leads 1-0 here in the bottom of the third in a game that's moved pretty well. 3-2 pitch well outside. And that's the first walk of the day for Sean O'Neill. And that's, you can understand not trying to give Mantoni anything too good, but now with Murphy, a guy who has so much pop, nearly 30-plus extra base hits a year ago, this is another situation where one swing in the bat could be 3-0, definitely could be 2-0, as Mantoni's another guy who, despite his muscular build, he can run pretty well over there at first base.
This is exactly what UMass Boston needed to do right there, is work a walk, get yourself on base, and get the middle of the lineup. Get your middle lineup up.
That pickoff throw almost ended up along the chain link fence over there down the right field line as Joshua Rakowski had to get up to make the catch. Mantoni readjusts. Looks like
he was looking for a balk there. I think he was looking for a balk call.
It's the first time that we've seen a pickoff throw from O'Neill. Swung on and missed. Murphy mistimes the fastball down the middle. 0-1 here to Dave Murphy.
That ball may well have landed in the city of Boston had he made contact.
Murphy hit quite a few homers over the monster last year, as there's another softer pickoff throw.
Probably not his best move.
Murphy hit .316 last year, started every game at shortstop, 19 doubles, 2 triples, 9 home runs, 48 RBI, a third-team all-region player. That's a much closer pickoff throw, and they got Mantoni. And Mantoni and Kevin Kelly, the Beacons' first base coach, are claiming that it has to be a balk. Those two are very frustrated by the call. And if we have it, we can take a look, as we're going to have our replay operator try to pull that one up. And Josh, you can see if you can diagnose it as that. It's a very deliberate call. It looks like he slides the back foot off the rubber. And that's what the Beacons are claiming, is the Beacons leave Murphy at the plate, and right now we'll take a look at it in slow-mo. So we'll see what O'Neill is crafting up.
Scheduled to bat for Brandeis at the top of the fourth inning. Dan O'Leary, Ryan Tenemer.
Looks like he's looking at the front foot there. I mean, UMass is complaining about the front foot. Now he's picking up his front foot and moving forward with it.
Let's take a look at it one more time, see if we can get anything. It's a little bit harder to tell from that up.
There's the pickoff that at the beginning with 5.
Very, very close. The Beacons were claiming for it on the first pickoff throw. Then it was a soft pickoff, and O'Neill's very happy because he gets to not face Murphy with a man on, but I'm certain that the Beacons, after that conversation with Auditor, you might not get the call there, but you're going to really alert the umpire for future pickoffs, and that's something as a coach, if you don't get it now, you're hoping you get it later on in the game.
That's exactly why you have those friendly conversations with those guys in blue all game long, making sure that you, like you just said, maybe don't get the call right now, but you're working them for an incident in the future. They were adamant about that pickoff, though. Even on the first one, they were sure they saw something.
Leading off for Brandeis in the top of the 4th inning, the right fielder, number 17, Dan O'Leary.
See Dan O'Leary to lead off for Brandeis here. The top of the 4th inning, UMass Boston leading 1-0. Just 3 combined hits, all 3 coming in the first inning. Since then, the 2 pitchers have settled down. JT Morin's first offering dips in there on the inside corner, 0-1. O'Leary singled out to right field in front of Rogers in the first inning before being picked off by the catcher Searles at first base. 1-1, maybe trying to make up for that mistake because that was such a huge play in the first. Between the 2 walks and the single, Brandeis could have had the bases loaded if not for that pickoff. And that was also the second out, is the Beacons asking for the check swing. Instead, it'll be 2-1. O'Leary ahead of the count.
Well, that was a definite turning point early on in the game. I mean, you score a couple runs or a run for a team that's struggling offensively in the first inning against a good pitcher like JT, that could completely change the ballgame.
That one's hit hard out to left field. It looks like it's going to be a bit short of the monster, off the wall, just above the scoreboard. Herzog's throw, and Murphy's not going to get it in there in time. It's just the second extra base hit of the season for Brandeis. A hard hit ball that might have been caught up in the wind just a little bit. It's definitely not blowing out today. If it was, that might have had enough juice and give O'Leary, the freshman out of Linfield, Massachusetts, the lead-off double, a chance to redeem himself, as that's his first extra base hit. He and Schaff, the leadoff hitter, the only extra base hits of the season, both of them with doubles.
That's huge for them. Huge for them. Huge for a young kid to come up against a good pitcher and get an extra base hit there.
Ryan Tenemer, the cleanup hitter, will foul that one back to the stop. Now, he is the cleanup hitter, and you're only down by a run, but do you possibly think about playing small ball even with the middle of your lineup here, just trying to get your team a little bit of confidence, get that first run up on the board?
You're talking to a softball coach. A softball coach says yes. A baseball coach probably says no.
Fair enough. Top 4, 0-1 with the runner on second and no outs. Searles able to catch that one low. We'll take a look at the double in between hitters as O'Leary was able to ping one off the scoreboard, well, just above the scoreboard out there in left center field. His first collegiate extra base hit. Stands out there at second. Tenemer a 1-1 count. Chops that one behind the plate, 1-2 now. Morin obviously looking for a strikeout here with already 3 in the game. Leave the runner at second base, and then you're much more likely, just per the statistical probabilities, of getting out of this inning unscathed if you can keep the runner at second with 1 down. Morin looks in for the sign from Searles. And his 1-2 pitch just a bit high, 2-2. That was just the second hit of the day for Brandeis. So O'Leary has both of them, a single and a double. For a team that doesn't have all that many hits, that's pretty big, as O'Leary's now 5 for 15, the best hitter on the team. Takes it on the outside corner. Tenemer's down looking, and JT Moore, an important strikeout, already his 4th of the day. And that keeps the runner at second base for the righty Marvick Gomez, the DH who hit into a fielder's choice to second base to end the first.
That's just the strikeout you were looking for. You just said it. Now you've got 1 out. You can pitch carefully to a middle of the order batter here. Never looking to walk anybody, but if it happens, you've now got the double play set up.
Gomez takes a breaking ball low. Pitch that was diving towards that right-hander's batting box. Gomez hit it softly to Hughie at second with a pair of runners on. 1-0 with a runner on second as Gomez now even in the count 1-1, a low fastball. Brandeis talking about the lack of scoring. Down in Florida, they had just 10 runs in 37 innings. Thus far, scoreless through their first 3. This is their best scoring chance since the first with a runner on second, a leadoff double. Another bouncer that Searles was able to knock down.
You talk about a difference between 2 years. You said they scored 10 runs in Florida. I think they had 10 runs in the first 3 innings here last year. Yeah.
Put up a 5 spot in the third. They had 19 after 6.5 innings. The Beacons ended up making it a bit more respectable with 6 late runs. As Gomez hits it softly towards the shortstop, Murphy takes it on 2 bounces, only play to first, and the tag from Nagel is not applied. The Beacons can't believe it, and that's huge. An error on the shortstop, Murphy. The Beacons, instead of having 2 down and a runner on third base, runners on the corners with 1 down, and UMass Boston, a costly error there on Murphy, who looked like he had a ton of time. Gomez not the fastest of runners, but ball gets away from Murphy. And talked about the pitchers with the grip, but we saw it against LaSalle, and that one, maybe Murphy just didn't quite get the grip he was looking for with the cold.
Early in the year, it's a little cold outside. Fight for that grip a little bit. That one just happened to get away.
Bring up Anthony Namako, a chance for him as the ball gets away from Searles. Great jump from O'Leary, and we're tied at 1 as Gomez will advance to second. So a double, strikeout, but then the air and the wild pitch, and the Beacons find themselves all tied at 1. A big run there for Brandeis to get back into this one as Morin has looked very good thus far. 1-0 here to Namako. A single potentially gives Brandeis their first lead of the day. Senior from Westfield, Massachusetts.
A couple opportunities for each team to score early in the game, and a couple base runners picked off on either side and couldn't get runs across, and now Brandeis is able to tie it up.
Namako just 1 for 8 on the year. He struck out looking, was the first strikeout victim of the day for Morin, who's at 1-1. Leave it as an earn, and we can change it if we need to.
No, our girls are over there.
1-1 with 1 down. That one bounces up there. Another good stop from Searles. Obviously, he would have liked to have kept that wild pitch in front of him, but he's kept quite a few pitches in front of him with runners on as Morin has struggled with the control, especially pitches low. The breaking ball is bouncing in front of the plate. 2-1. That one's hit hard out to center field. For Shino, a diving effort, able to keep it in front of him. That's going to save a run. And that is such a huge play. You don't love to see the outfielder diving, but somehow able to, almost like a cat, knock it down like a cat with yarn, and able to keep the runners at the corners here as the Beacons in trouble with Brandeis looking for their first lead.
He saved a run there. He saved maybe even 2, depending on the speed of the batter there. That ball gets past the center fielder. I mean, there's nobody else there backing him up. And with that cutout there, going all the way up to 420 feet, no telling where that ball goes.
See Daniel Gamble head out to talk to JT Morin right now in the Beacons infield. Still a chance here for the Beacons to potentially turn 2 and get out of the inning with just the 1 run. UMass Boston and Brandeis tied at 1-1 here in the 4th. As you see everyone huddled up, and we'll take a look right now at that effort from, I believe, for Shino out there. No, this is actually the double to start the inning from Dan O'Leary, his first collegiate double. You see it here, the pitch right over the plate and high, and O'Leary just swings and able to knock that one just above the scoreboard out there in left center. Actually off of the scoreboard. A nice play from Herzog, but good speed from O'Leary, easily able to get in there in time.
Got his arms extended, caught up with the velocity, and almost put one out.
And real quick, we'll take a look at the air on Murphy, see if we can see anything with the throw. He looks like he had a ton of time as Gomez doesn't run all that well, but you can see his head down, looking to move quickly, and then just flares it up a little bit. That tag looks like it was there, and the Beacons were claiming for it. They've had a couple calls not go their ways. The first pitch by Rakowski is fouled off towards the right side, but that's a huge one in the inning, as otherwise you've given up the one run, but you just have a runner on first with two down. Instead, Gomez out there at third base, the potential leading run. He's at third. Namako at first after the hard-hit single to center. Brandeis has 2 of their 3 hits here in the inning as Morin will toss it over to first. Not his best pickoff throw. Already has 1 strikeout in the inning, 4 for the game. Looking for another one right here or a potential double play ball. He got Rakowski looking in the second in his lone plate appearance. Swings and misses at that one, and it's 0-2. For Brandeis, they'll host Bates in their season opener, or their home opener, a doubleheader on the 11th of March. I believe that's Saturday. And then travel to Bridgewater State on the 14th and host WPI on the 15th, as Rakowski will foul that one off. This is the first year that the UAA, the University Athletic Association, has not played a round-robin tournament down in Florida. They don't have 7 teams for baseball. A couple of their teams playing in different conferences because of the different spring breaks. But they will play conference quadruple weekend games. It's not double. You're not playing 4 games in a day, but you are playing 4 games against a team. This season is they'll host Emory University out of Georgia, Washington University of St. Louis for 4 each, travel to NYU and Case University. So a bit of a different looking schedule for Judges fans. So there's a timeout called here by Rakowski. 1-1 top of the 4th, 2 runners on, runners at the corners with 1 down. An 0-2 count to Rakowski. Brandeis in the inning, a double, an error, a wild pitch, and a single to score the run and put 2 more runners on. Breaking ball dips down just a little bit low, and Rakowski able to hold up as it's another pitch where Morin was hoping for the swing and a miss.
This is a huge at-bat right here. This JT needs to get an out here, whether it be via strikeout, and you just keep that runner at third right where he is.
The 1-2 pitch, another breaking ball. Rakowski able to hold up once again. Beacons had a couple pitches to work with there and unable to get the batter to chase 2-2. But is this a bigger at-bat for Brandeis than for UMass Boston with their struggles offensively?
Fair enough. I mean, a base hit right here put them ahead. We've said early on in the year that Brandeis has not played from ahead hardly at all this year. It's not a spot that they've been in. It could do a lot for their confidence if they could put the go-ahead run across here.
Rakowski showing a ton of poise right now, able to hold up on the high fastball that was outside. That's 3 pitches that see a lot of batters chase after, and instead Rakowski, the freshman out of New Fairfield, Connecticut, able to hold off. Nearly hit by that one, and the bases are full of Judges with just the 1 down. So a force at every base, and that's the first walk for Morin since the first inning, as it'll bring up Brian Shaw, who flew out to center to end the second. This does give you options if you're UMass Boston. You can go home and just get the sure out, look to turn 2, and with the catcher running, maybe you can turn 2 even going to home plate first. Put some pressure on Shaw, just a freshman out of Conway, Massachusetts. Takes the first pitch low and Searles another block.
Searles is doing a great job here. He's a couple times this inning. I mean, the wild pitch, that would have been a tough one for him to get regardless, but he's held a couple runners here.
Shaw 1 for 5, looking for his first collegiate RBI. Could do it without a hit right here. 1-0 inside. We've seen Morin miss now 6 consecutive pitches, and that'll force Searles out. Now, this is supposed to be a piggyback day start. So the Beacons probably using Morin for his final inning right here. The Beacons want to throw Morin for 3 or 4 innings, throw Kyle Carvello, another one of their potential starting pitchers for 3 or 4 innings, and then go to the pen even further. But They'd love to get Morin through this fourth inning after he worked so cleanly through the second and third. He went 6 up, 6 down from the second and third and actually retired 7 in a row before that leadoff double here to start the fourth. Bases full of judges, 2-0 count with 1 out. The 2-0 pitch right down the middle, 2-1, and you could tell there that Brian Shaw was taking all the way.
He was. I mean, you've seen 6 in a row. You went from 0-2 on the batter ahead to a walk and then two off the plate here. He's taken all the way.
See if he gets the pitch he's looking for here. 2-1 with 1 down, flares it out to right field. This is going to be a run most likely. Rogers comes in on it. Rogers is throw to the plate. The runner will hold up. Gomez, the DH, maybe not a ton of speed. You think that most of the time that's deep enough. Instead, it'll force Gomez to retreat, and there's 2 down here with 2 outs for Kyle Lucier, the 9-hole hitter.
Rogers played that really well. I mean, he got there quick enough that he could get behind the ball, get a good solid throw in, right on line. Like you said, the runner at third, Gomez, not the fastest. Held him at third.
So the Beacons would have been out of this inning without the error to Murphy. They should have 3 outs already. We'll see if they can keep the game at 1-1 here in the top of the fourth. Lucier grounded out to short to start the third. It's the first pitch to him. High fastball on the inside portion, swung on and missed. Looking at Kyle, he was the only guy who really probably came back from Florida feeling good. 4 for 11 with 2 RBI. 3 strikeouts, hit .364. Easily the top on the team. 0-1 pitch swung on and missed. Quickly behind 0-2 as Morin looks to finish his outing potentially. We don't know if he's going to be reduced to just the 4 innings, but Morin already over 80 pitches. Have to figure they're not going to try to go too much further. Trying to strand the bases loaded here in the fourth. Lucier, the sophomore, behind 0-2. Gomez at third. Namako at second. Rakowski at first. A long look. Morin shrugging off a couple of signs, and Lucier's finally going to get time. That took a while there between Morin and Searles in their conversation. Obviously, you want to get the right pitch if you're ahead 0-2 with 2 outs. The last thing you want to do is give up a potential hit, or especially an extra base hit, as that one's flared foul down the first base side. Nagel gives chase, has no chance, and we'll do it again. Morin has struggled with the control a bit. 4 strikeouts versus 3 walks. Last year, 62 strikeouts versus 8 walks in 16 to third innings. But again, with the cold temperatures, a little bit of a wind, and Morin not wearing sleeves, I don't think that's going to help him anymore. But sometimes pitchers just need that good feel. It's that one just off the corner, ball 1.
He thought he had it. He halfway to the dugout. I thought he had it too.
We've seen a pretty consistent strike zone from Rick Delvecchio. But it seems like he's given a little bit more on the inside portion to these righties than the out. As Morin steps back onto the mound, the sophomore out of Wilton, Connecticut, trying to finish off his 2017 opener with a positive. Breaking ball well outside, 2-2. We saw Morin look for that strikeout pitch with 1 down, a little bit too much, and he threw 4 straight balls. What are you thinking here, 2-2 with 2 down?
I think he goes back inside. I mean, that's where he established himself early.
2-2 pitch hit out to right field. Rogers coming in on it, and he'll make the play. A sliding catch by Joey Rogers, and UMass Boston will strand the bases loaded here in the fourth. Head to the bottom of the fourth. UMass Boston all smiles as they are tied up 1-1, but the damage certainly could have been worse. We'll take a look at that last highlight, and then we'll head to commercial. We'll head to commercial and then take a look at the play by Rogers right after this commercial break.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris. The subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
We'll take a look at that final play of the top of the fourth inning. UMass Boston getting out of a jam. Back-to-back flyouts to right. The second one a bit more dramatic as Lucier, it looked like he hit it pretty hard off the bat. And coming in on his Rogers, fighting off the sun and just barely able to get there. Hughie going out. A big play from Joey Rogers, the freshman who Beacons have high hopes for. And you can see why there's some good defensive play in right. And we talk about it every game, but it is so huge in a park like this, especially fighting the winds. So much room out there in right center and left center to have speed like Rogers has in left, Rogers in right, Frashino in center, and even Nick Herzog in left. The Beacons are able to cover so much ground, cut off some of those what would be hits at a lot of parks.
Oh, and coupled with the turf. I mean, that ball gets down, it's rolling for a while. We talk about those two plays that Rogers made, and they were great. Getting to the ball and keeping the runner at third. But the play that Frashino made in center field where he knocks down that ball, like you said, the cat with the yarn out there knocking it down, that's huge. I mean, that saves at least a run. No telling what that inning looks like if he doesn't get there and knock that ball down.
1-1 here to Dave Murphy, who was straight at the plate to end the third inning. He pops it up high on the infield. Schaff calling for it, and Jay Schaff able to make the play on the ball that was hit a mile high. So Murphy retired for the first time after signaling to short and scoring on the Kyle Boudris double. And who else? It's Kyle Boudris stepping up right now. We'll show you a replay of that Boudris double after this first pitch, as Boudris gave the Beacons the lead 1-0 back in the first. They're currently tied 1-1. Boudris, the sophomore third baseman, as we'll take a look at that highlight right here. Boudris able to put it right in between the left fielder and center fielder. And Murphy coming around to score all the way from first. Boudris takes a pitch inside. We'll keep you live with the audio right now. 0-2 to Kyle Boudris, working against Sean O'Neill, who's been very good thus far, limiting the Beacons to just the 2 hits, back-to-back hits in the first, nothing since. Has only walked 1, and his defense yet to make an error.
And efficient. He's working quickly, establishing himself early.
Boudris to be followed by Anthony Searles. That pitch low. O'Neill has a couple strikeouts of his own, 3 strikeouts and 1 walk. He's given up just 1 run on the season through 7 2/3 innings. 4 2/3 against Augustana out of Illinois down in Florida. And now 3 innings plus here in Boston. 2-2 pitch coming to Boudris, who hit .335 a year ago, second best on the Beacons, and the top returning hitter after Ryan Olivo did not come back for his sophomore season. Do it again after he fouls one off towards the lacrosse field. That game just underway, UMass Boston Lacrosse and Daniel Webster College. Tied at 0 early on in the first quarter, 4 o'clock start for the boys in blue. 2-2 pitch hit hard out to center. Plenty of room out there for Tenemer, and he's going to get under it and easily make the play for the second out of the inning. So after the 2-out walk and then the ensuing pickoff, with the exception of that walk in the third, O'Neill is now retired 8 of the past 9 and is not allowed a runner to reach second base, as it'll be Anthony Searles stepping up. Searles hit a check swing grounder over to the first baseman to end the first with a runner on third. Anthony went 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 triples against LaSalle on Thursday. He's quickly ahead 2-0.
O'Neill really pounding the outside of the plate here.
And I just love how quickly he works as he shakes off a couple signs from Shaw. He's got to make it easier on those defenders and maybe even difficult for the batters to get their timing. So there's a swing and a miss from Searles. On a day like this, and really any day, the quicker you work, I think it makes it so much easier on the infielders and outfielders to just stay active, stay lively behind you, as Searles knifes one back. 2-2 now to the Beacon senior catcher. Charlie Hughie waits on deck. The Beacons even at 1s here in the fourth after Brandeis scratched one across on a wild pitch in the top half of the inning. 2-2 pitch to Searles. Takes it the whole way. 3-2. Shadows not a factor yet, but certainly will continue to creep in. You can see some of the shadows from the lights that are already turned on here at Monon. 3-2 pitch to Searles just off the corner. O'Neill wanted it, and it's his second consecutive 2-out walk in an inning. Last time he was able to pick off Mantoni on a play that the Beacons weren't happy with. They thought that there was a balk for sure, and now we'll see if Hughie can make O'Neill pay. He's really had no issues getting the first out of the second out, but this is the fourth base runner the Beacons have gotten in 4 innings with 2 outs. A single and a double in the first, and now walks in the third and the fourth as Hughie check swing, and that one pulls back 0-1. Now, is that a mental thing, or is that just the Beacons doing a good job making adjustments, making O'Neill work? There's this soft pick-off throw, just making sure he's not called for the balk.
You wonder if he loses a little bit of velocity, of course, coming out of the stretch instead of the windup. Some pitchers just more comfortable in one over the other.
As Hughie fouls that one back, actually catches him on the backswing. 0-2 here to Charlie. O'Neill with 3 strikeouts, none in the past 2 half innings. Over at first base, it's Anthony Searles who worked the walk. Decent crowd here at Monon, much larger than opening day, as it's much nicer out without the wind. Members of the UMass Boston women's soccer team, UMass Boston women's hockey team, UMass Boston women's tennis and softball team out. Not a lot of male camaraderie today. 0-2 pitch is just off the corner.
They're playing lacrosse, Seth.
Well, the lacrosse team's out there. They do have some men's soccer players who are working today.
Study hall, Seth. Weight room, Seth.
Very important. All things that are very important. 1-2, 2 down. Anthony Searles with a short lead off first base. O'Neill looks in, the 1-2 pitch, and that one's fouled off. Hughie making O'Neill work. Saw Morin go well over 80 pitches in the top half. Have to figure O'Neill's only around 60. Nagel waits on deck, hoping to get a chance here after a strikeout looking he didn't like. That pitch is on the outside corner, and O'Neill gets another one looking. His 4th strikeout of the game. Second looking, we're through 4. UMass Boston 1, Brandeis 1. Here on the Beacons Broadcast Network, we'll get you a pitching change to start this top of the 5th inning as the Beacons will go to the pen, and it looks like it'll be sophomore Joe McGuire getting his first look in 2017.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris, the subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
Kaylee, can you zoom in on the picture, please?
Take a look right now at the new UMass Boston pitcher. It's the first time in 2017 that we'll see Joe McGuire, the sophomore right-hander out of Peabody, Mass. Attended Peabody Veterans Memorial. 6'2", 190, a guy who the Beacons are very high on. Had his struggles as a freshman. A lot of the Beacons bullpen pitchers did. They really relied heavily on Bobby Tramondosi, who the Beacons will use as their closer this year. Last year, McGuire, despite his struggles, appeared in 10 games, 13 innings, 18 hits, 14 runs, 14 earned. Allowed 10 doubles. He was hit pretty hard. Opponents hitting .346 against him, a 9.69 ERA. No wins, no losses, and we'll see what McGuire can do here as the Beacons don't want to run up too many pitches on any of these arms early on in the season, especially pitches in high-pressure situations. Those are the innings that maybe cause a little bit more harm to the shoulder. So the Beacons only threw Dan Mantoni a couple innings, Fernando Burgess a couple innings, and that'll do it for Mr. Morin, who ends up going 4 innings, allowing just 3 hits, 1 run. I believe it was earned. 4 strikeouts versus 3 walks. And Morin will not earn a decision one way or another, as we see Joe McGuire take on the leadoff hitter, Jay Schaff, who went 0 for 2 against Morin, a ground out to second, and a strikeout swinging.
Like we said, we like to use these early season games to see what we have and see a little bit different arm action here.
Check swing. Hughie's going to have to charge. Picks it up on 3 hops and will get it across. That shows the versatility of Charlie Hughie as he gets Shaft for the second time today. Hughie was the Beacons' backup catcher to start last season. Then, when they had an injury to Luke Nagel, became the Beacons' first baseman for the second half of the season. They wanted another guy at second base just so they could have versatility with Josh Lopez, a former Little East Conference Rookie of the Year who can also play the outfield. And even he's the backup at short and third base if there were to be an injury. So a guy who, you look at a catcher, first baseman, you don't expect him to have speed, able to show the wheels there as he was playing pretty deep on Shaft, the leadoff hitter.
Anytime you can find a guy who's versatile like that, the flexibility it provides.
Ball hit off the end of the bat, and that one's going to get over the head of Herzog nonetheless. Oppenheimer with some good pop, and he's got the second double of the day, his first double of the year. It's a 1-out double here for Victor Oppenheimer as McGuire's velocity maybe hurting him a little bit there. That ball didn't look like it was hit that hard, but it carried well as Herzog must have not been playing that deep. And it's a 1-out double for Oppenheimer with Dan O'Leary, the only guy who was hitting Morin pretty well up, as he had 2 of the team's 3 hits against JT Morin, and the team's lone run scored. First pitch to him, low and away for ball 1. Expect Joe to maybe go an inning or 2, as the Beacons will also likely use a couple of their other righty arms. The other part of the equation is with MIT tomorrow, UMass Boston wants to make sure that they have some quality arms because MIT, a team that is expected to be towards the top of the New England region, team that's expected to compete for a NEWMAC tournament championship, you obviously want to think about winning your conference regular season, winning your conference tournament, but it could potentially help with another at-large bid. The LEC tournament, always such a toss-up last year, Eastern Connecticut State, as the 5 seed was able to win the conference tournament. You want to give yourself as many outs as possible as that one catches the inside corner, 1 and 2 to O'Leary.
These New England games, these New England region games are huge. Like you just said, I mean, there's no guarantee once it comes LEC tournament time, and I think the Beacons expect to have a good year, but you don't want to rely just on winning that conference tournament. You want to make sure that you prime yourself and get yourself in a good position to get that at-large bid if needed.
Or maybe vice versa. You don't want to have to win the conference tournament to give yourself that only chance.
Exactly.
As that really was Eastern Connecticut State's boat going into last year's tournament. UMass Boston and Southern Maine both thought they had resumes that were quality enough to get in if they needed to. Southern Maine ended up being one of the first teams, when we always talk about Selection Sunday for college basketball Division I, which is this Sunday. They talk about the first 4 teams out. Southern Maine would have been one of those first 4 teams out as it's a 1-2 count, and it catches the hip of O'Leary, who's now reached all 3 times. And that one is probably where you'd want to get hit. Breaking ball, catching that front hip, that one's not going to hurt nearly as much. As Brendan Igerot coming out, and really just a quick conversation with Del Vecchio. Seen it a lot more the last 2 years, just a conversation of, did he really try to get out of the way of that one, or did he just want to get plunked and take his base? And that one, really not much he could have done, but you've seen it more and more. Guys have to stay in the batter's box after getting hit because that rule adjustment last spring.
Exactly. Like you said, Coach Igerot not necessarily working for a change of a call here, but maybe working to get something later on in the game.
or even potentially later on in the season.
Exactly.
We've already seen Auditor and Del Vecchio twice now, so there is a chance the Beacons could get very familiar with some of these umpires. Ryan Teddemer with 2 runners on and 1 out. He walked in the first and struck out looking in the 4th. Hits that one hard. Murphy able to knock it down. That'll potentially save a run, but it's an infield single, and the bases are loaded for the 2nd consecutive inning. Murphy nearly made a great play, and realistically might have picked his head up a little bit trying to see if he can make the play at third base. Don't know if he was going to get the out either way anywhere else.
Did a great job of knocking it down. Maybe, like you said, maybe tried to think about that throw before we actually fielded the ball, but regardless, knocked it down, saved a run, try to limit the damage here.
Here's a double play candidate. Gomez, we've seen they're not very confident in his speed. He hit into a fielder's choice to second base in the first and reached at shortstop. Ball hit softly over to second. Hughie will pick it up to short. Murphy's throw across, and the Beacons get out of it. Bases loaded, 1-out jam for the 2nd consecutive inning. Taylor made double play ball 4-6-3. We'll take a look at that one after this commercial break. UMass Boston 1, Brandeis 1 here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
UMass Boston is my first choice because of the incredible theater department.
Because it has an excellent honors college.
Because here I get to interact with professors one-on-one.
Because I'm not going to be crazy in debt when I graduate.
Because at UMass Boston, I've met professors who have changed my life.
My first choice.
My first choice.
My first choice.
My first choice.
Make the University of Massachusetts Boston your first choice. Visit umb.edu/first choice.
Take a look at those 2 nice plays made by Charlie Hughie, the first out of the inning and then turning that 4-6-3 double play. Here's the opening batter of the inning, Schaff, the leadoff hitter, pretty good speed, and Hughie charges and then makes a quick throw over, beating Schaff by about a step. And then next up, the 4-6-3 double play, so huge for UMass Boston as they've left the bases loaded back-to-back innings.
Huge to get out of that inning. And the first one, a check swing as a fielder is one of the hardest plays to field. You're looking at what looks like a big swing, and then all of a sudden it's barely tapped off the bat. You're having to readjust yourself. He made a great play to come in and get that speedy runner.
Helps out Joe McGuire in his season debut. Luke Nagel behind 0-2. Fouled off the first one and takes that pitch a breaking ball. Sean O'Neill has worked quickly and has worked efficiently. Just 61 pitches through the first 4, 38 for strikes. Looking for strikeout number 5 right now. That one dips low. And Nagel appreciative at looking back, not seeing the strike 3 call. So he was rung up looking his first at bat. Just 2 trips to the plate this season, a bases loaded walk and a pinch hit appearance, and that strikeout. Grounds it over to first, and easily handling that is Rakowski as the Beacons still looking for their first base hit since the first. The Beacons got a infield single from Murphy, and then a 2-out double from Boudris, but since then have not been able to do much. In fact, UMass Boston still looking for their first hit or base runner before 2 outs in an inning. O'Neill has done a tremendous job retiring the first 2.
You know, we talked to the first about that mindset, about how O'Neill's coming in and he's pounding the strike zone, and there we see a first pitch swing.
Easy play for Oppenheimer, who beats the charging Herzog. The Beacons retired quickly here for the first 2 outs of the inning. So it'll bring up Joey Rogers, who made a couple big plays in the 3rd inning, rather the 4th inning defensively, to keep the score at 1-1. This has been a low-scoring game. It's almost reminiscent of last year's Game 2, as Rogers shows bunt, pulls it back. The Beacons beat MIT, a really good team in game 1. 4-0, nearly threw a no-hitter, and then came back the next day against LaSalle, a team that wasn't picked that high in the GNAC and kind of laid a dud. I think today the Beacons are seeing a really good pitcher in O'Neill, but UMass Boston, as the preseason number 1 in the Little East Conference, is a team that's getting preseason votes. You're going to see aces from a lot of these teams in non-conference, especially early. Conference play hasn't started. They've got to get used to hitting this elite pitching, which actually could help them come tournament time.
Oh, exactly. I mean, like we said, they had opportunity to score. They came out in the first inning. They put up 1. Truth be told, I think that pickoff mentally, when we got picked off and they disagreed with the call a little bit, that set them back a little bit mentally. They just got to find their groove a little bit.
Well, the defense might be able to spark the offense, as UMass Boston's played really well defensively today, minus the 1 error from Murphy. 3-1 offering here to Rogers, just off the count, and Joey's still looking for that first hit of his freshman year, still able to raise the old OBP. The 2-out walk, that's the 3rd straight inning that O'Neill has given up a walk. Yes, it's good plate discipline, the Beacons knowing that, but also it just seems like O'Neill maybe just takes the focus off a little bit, and that could really hurt him here as Sal Fershino, who nearly had a base hit his last time with the drag bunt, will step up. Rogers with tremendous speed. Fershino with some good pop out of the leadoff hole. Another opportunity where a ball to the gaps could easily score a run with 2 down, as Fershino takes first one in the outside corner for strike 1.
That's a great job by Rogers. We talked about it, the 9 batter right there, looking to turn the lineup over. He did exactly what he needed to do. Maybe looking to steal a base here, get in the scoring position for Fershino.
Pickoff throws a bit late. Rogers has yet to attempt to steal a base. The Beacons were very aggressive last season. One of the top teams in terms of stealing bases, as Rogers almost got caught going the wrong way. O'Neill has been very particular about throwing over to first base, especially when there's a runner on first. He's gone over multiple times. Rogers does have good speed here. 0-1 pitch. Rogers not going. That one's popped up out to right field. Should be playable for O'Leary. Fighting the sun, and he'll make the play. We head to the 6th. It's a low-scoring game. UMass Boston 1, Brandeis 1, as the Beacons look like they'll make a couple more changes here defensively.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
UMass Boston will continue to shift things around a little bit. They'll bring Josh Lopez on defensively at second base, a guy who, despite not starting either of their first 2 games, the Beacons certainly think will play a role for UMass Boston this season.
Leading off for Brandeis in the top of the 5th inning, the left fielder number
He's at second base, will replace Luke Nagel in the lineup as Charlie Hughey moves from second to first. Talking about that versatility, the Beacons call him their version of Brock Holt, which is certainly appropriate here for New England. It's helpful to have a guy who can move around defensively, as McGuire will come on for a second half inning. Quickly behind 1-0 to Numeko. Now 1-1. McGuire gave up a single, a double, and a hit by pitch in the top half of the 5th, but able to get a 4-6-3 double play turn by Hughey to Murphy to Nagel at that point to get out of the inning. As Numeko ahead in the count at this point, 2-1. He's 1 for 2 today, a strikeout looking and a single to center. McGuire looks in, the flat brim cap, making it a little bit harder to see the eyes, and it's 2-2. And Mako very frustrated by that call. The righties all day have been upset by the inside corner, but it seems like Delvecchio's been pretty consistent. He's going to give a couple extra inches in there, and that's where a lot of those strikeouts looking have come. 2-2 pitch fouled off just over the heads of a couple people in the Beacons dugout on the first base side, and there's some guys laughing over there, happy to have avoided any potential damage.
You talk about the strike zone. Delvecchio's called that inside pitch on righties all day long. At this point, we're sitting here in the 6th inning. You've got to be expecting it.
McGuire looks in, his 2-2 offer to the leadoff hitter. Breaking ball well outside. 3-2 now. McGuire would love to retire the leadoff hitter here in the 6th. This is probably his second and final inning of work. He's going to be a reliever for the most part this year. Not a guy who's going to go 3, 4, 5, 6 innings in a game. So the Beacons got 4 out of JT Morin. 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 earned. On the other side, Sean O'Neill has worked 5 innings. We'll see if he comes out for the 6th. It doesn't look like there's any movement out there in the Brandeis bullpen, although there is one guy who's beginning to stretch. Ball hit softly over to third. Boudreaux picks it up on a hop, his throw across in plenty of time, and Namako is retired for the 2nd time today. Bring up Rakowski, 1 for 1, or rather 0 for 1, with a strikeout looking and a walk. Rakowski, the 7-hole hitter. UMass Boston would love to not let the order turn over here in the 6th. Runs could come at a premium, which is surprising because you look at some of the past scores. Brandeis put up 19 in last year's 19-9 win. They put up 20 a couple of years ago. Normally runs have not been an issue for Brandeis against UMass Boston, but this year where they've struggled so mightily on offense, just 185 batting average coming into this game, 0-4 down in Florida against Augustana University. If they can get 2 or 3 runs, it's a good day. And right now, Sean O'Neill has certainly done a good job to keep his team in it.
Completely different team from last year. It looks like this team may not be able to score the number of runs that last year's squad did, but maybe rely on pitching like we're seeing from O'Neill.
And the good thing is they didn't field so well down in Florida. It's a .935 fielding percentage. Today their defense has been crisp. No errors through the first 5+. Check swing, and that'll be strike 3. First strikeout of the season for Joe McGuire. And that'll be strikeout number 5 overall. As McGuire, after a up and down first inning of work, has looked a lot calmer here in the 2nd inning. He's now retired 3 in a row.
It's exactly what he needed to do. Come in, get a couple good innings in. I think that first inning, got the first out, got himself into a little bit of trouble, induced a couple ground balls, and got out of the inning. This inning looks a little bit more comfortable. Looking to get out of here unscathed.
Well, anytime you have an ERA for the season over 9, if you struggle a little bit in that first half inning and things are looking sour, you think back, oh, not again. I don't want to have a bad outing because maybe then I'll fall down the totem pole. He's ahead 0-2 here to Shaw, 1-2. That first inning gets through it. Hey, I am that pitcher for preseason. Maybe a little bit more confidence. He's looked a lot better here in his 2nd inning of work.
Completely different.
1-2 with 2 outs. Breaking ball just off the corner. McGuire, as we've seen O'Neill and Moore do a couple times, walking off the mound, not getting the love on that outside corner. It's a 2-2 count with 2 down, no one on. Top of the 6th inning. Breaking ball on the inside corner, and that'll be strikeout number 2 for McGuire. Number 6 overall. We head to the bottom of the 6th. The Beacons looking for their first run since the first. They're all tied at 1 through 5.5.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university.
Bottom of the sixth for UMass Boston. They'll go 2-3-4 working against O'Neill, who has been very good today. O'Neill has yet to allow a base runner before the 2-out mark of a half inning. Mantoni is 0 for 1, a strikeout and a walk. Pops that one up down the right field side. Rakowski coming over. Looks like he might have a play, but it's going to go over the fencing. A couple bounces towards the construction fencing over to the right as they are currently working, well, maybe not at this moment, but working on building a new parking garage that will be accessible to this field. And for UMass Boston students and faculties, that one is off the plate. 1-1 here to the Beacons' senior designated hitter. UMass Boston got their only run in the bottom half of the first inning. Dave Murphy infield single followed by a Kyle Boudris double, both with 2 outs. 2-1 to Mantoni. Fastball on the outside corner. And another look. These players are slowly adjusting to the strike zone. As Mantoni, well, he's not pitching today, so he can be a little bit more vocal in his dislike of the strike zone. And he's now has a full count at 3-2.
Looking to get his first really good swing on the ball today, right here.
3-2 pitch, fouls it off, and he'll get another chance. Nothing else is making O'Neill work a little bit more. O'Neill was one of the top 2 starters for Brandeis against Augustana down in Florida. They did not bring back their closer, so the back end of the bullpen, that's a soft chopper. O'Neill will just look to apply the tag there on Mantoni and does so. And really, that's one of those strange plays where you can do either or, and O'Neill just getting aggressive, trying to keep it himself.
Didn't want to risk the throw. If you can go ahead and take it yourself, get rid of the possibility of an error, might as well take it.
Well, and certainly there's some guys out there who just can't quite make that throw. John Lester comes to mind.
The shortstop, number 8.
It'll bring up Dave Murphy. A single to run scored in the first, a pop up to short on a ball that was a mile high in the fourth. Committed an error in that half inning where the Beacons gave up a run in the fourth. Wasn't the reason that Brandeis scored, but certainly made it a bit easier. We'll see if he can come up with a rally starting hit here. Behind quickly 0-1 as Murphy will call times.
I'm surprised we haven't seen more of that from UMass Boston as efficiently as O'Neill's been working. Throw off his rhythm a little bit.
See Brendan Eigerbrod on your screen, the Beacons' 13th year head coach, reigning Little East Conference Coach of the Year. As the 0-1 to Murphy, a breaking ball broke beautifully, but just a bit off the corner there, 1-1. I really like the stuff for O'Neill, the junior, who's maybe going to be the guy that replaces their ace from a year ago. Swung on and missed there by Murphy, 1-2. Looking at Brandeis from a year ago, they lost their top 7 hitters in terms of plate appearances. So a lot of guys who have to be replaced. But then when you look at the pitching, Sam Miller, their ace, went 6-6 last year, pitched a team high 75 innings, nearly 25 more than the next pitcher, and just carried the staff. 13 starts, 6 more than Liam Coughlin, and 7 more than Ryan Pocock. You look at O'Neill, limited to just 2 starts, maybe an injury, as he gets Murphy to swing and miss at a breaking ball, and this is a guy who looks like he's going to be the guy who faces off against opposing teams' aces. Has just not only worked quickly, but has worked effectively, and now has 5 strikeouts on the day.
You know what? He's a confident kid. I mean, he gets out there, he grabs the ball, and he throws it. And he makes it real simple, not flashy. Comes out, pounds the strike zone. Nothing fancy about him, but he's been effective all day long.
Breaking ball inside there to Boudreaux. At this point, UMass Boston might be thinking about just trying to drive up the pitch count a little bit more and to get O'Neill out of the game. Only went 4 2/3 down in Florida. Gets Boudreaux to pop up on a 1-0 pitch. Calling for it is Schaff. He'll be pushed off by Tedemer, and the Beacons go down 1-2-3. Their first 1-2-3 innings since the second. Head to the 7th. It's a pitcher's duel here at Monin. UMass Boston's used 2 guys. For Brandeis, it's just the 1. Either way, it's a 1-1 game as the Beacons will go back to the pen.
Cheer for the stumbles. That he should have had that. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
Moving from Turkey, it was a rough journey for me because when you don't really speak the language that well and when you don't really fit in the crowd, it's very easy to disappear. But I decided not to give up, so, and you guys.
New pitcher for UMass Boston is Joe McGuire. Goes 2 innings without giving up a run. McGuire with a pair of strikeouts and a pair of hits allowed. It's Kyle Carvello, the Dean College transfer, a JUCO that is going to become a Division III school in the near future. Carvello out of Braintree High School, where he helped his team win the first ever Super 8 state tournament. Came on and pitched the 8th the other day against LaSalle. Did not give up a run, had 1 strikeout. I think he gave up 1 hit or 1 walk. And we'll see the lefty come on to start the 7th inning. Be interesting to see what, if at all, changes when you go from a lefty to a righty to a lefty. You think that messes with the batters at all? Although this will be Lucier to lead off, the 9-0 hitter, the only guy who didn't face off against McGuire, so it shouldn't affect him too much. One lefty look versus another.
It doesn't, but you're looking at changes in velocity, changes in pitches. I'm sure Carvello is not the same pitcher that Morin is, obviously, but anytime that you have to go back lefty, righty, lefty, of course it messes with you a little bit, so maybe Lucier has a little bit of an advantage here.
Lucier has not seen an at-bat in the last 2 half innings. He led off the 3rd with a ground out to short and then flew out to right to end that bases loaded 1-out jam in the 4th. Brandeis left the bases loaded with 1 out in the 4th, back-to-back flyouts, and then a ground out to a double play ground out to end the 5th. So Brandeis has had their chances, in fact, more than the Beacons, who scored their run in the 1st, Brandeis scored 1 in the 4th, left the bases loaded. Didn't score in the 5th, left the bases loaded. Brandeis 1 run on 5 hits and no errors. The Beacons 1 run on 2 hits and 1 error after scoring 11 on opening day. Does look like there's finally someone warming in the Brandeis pen. The Beacons, who have been going with a few pitchers, already their 3rd here to start the 7th, as Carvelo's missed inside back-to-back. UMass Boston already with someone warming. This might be another 1-inning outing for Carvelo as the Beacons try to get quite a few guys in. It looks like Lucier might have strained something there jumping out of the way. He wasn't hit by a pitch. And he's taking a while to stretch out as Anthony Searles will come over to talk to Carvelo, who seems a bit out of sorts to start this outing.
Looks like he's telling his coach he maybe got a cleat caught in the turf as he was trying to jump out of the way of that pitch there a little bit.
And the umpire came over to talk to him. I'm not sure if that's just checking on him or telling him he's not going to get his base. Carvelo, 6'1", 200, was a starter last year at Dean College for the most part. An ERA in the mid-5s. But another one of those new additions, Rogers, Tully, Carvelo, and quite a few of these Beacons freshman pitchers who we haven't seen yet, who UMass Boston has high hopes for. 2-0 to the leadoff hitter, a 9-hole hitter, Kyle Lucier, who will flare that one out to left. This one has a chance. Lucier looking up. The ball's over the head of Herzog, and it's a 2-1 Brandeis lead. Kyle Lucier taking that one over the monster, and Brandeis holds the edge for the first time today and the first time in New England. A leadoff homer from Lucier, the guy who was the hottest hitter back in Florida, and Lucier gives his team a 2-1 advantage. First homer of the year at Monon, and that one, not quite a no-doubter, but it certainly sounded very good off the bat.
Carvelo came in, threw a couple inside, tried to establish the strike zone there a little bit, just get one across, and Lucier jumped on it.
And now we'll see what this does for a Brandeis team that has not held leads that often. They blew a couple, gave up some late game tying or game go-ahead runs against Augustana, but for a team that hasn't had a lot of success, this might be a spark for their pitcher, as showing bunt and pulling it back is Schaff. Carvelo falling behind the hitter once again.
Well, and this is the same blueprint that Lucier used. He squared the bunt the first time and drew a ball there. Schaff's trying to do the same.
1-0 pitch. This one on the corner for strike one. And after that mound visit behind 2-0, you know that Searles is probably telling Carvelo, you got to throw a strike here.
Caught a little bit too much of the plate, especially against a good hitter. That's the one hitter in the lineup who we said is, even being the number 9 batter, he's the guy that's got the only average above 300. He's the guy that's consistently put the ball in play.
Carvelo ahead 1-2 on Schaff. A ground ball down the line, just wide of the dugout, and we'll do it again. Brandeis taking their first lead of the day, a run in the 4th, a run in the 7th, just their 6th hit, but limited the Beacons to just 2, both coming in the 1st. Brandeis looking to become the first team to win in multiple years here at Monon. That's not saying much. This is just the second home game of the second year of Monon Park, but the Beacons have lost just 9 times in 25 games here at home. So an impressive mark nonetheless. Sorry about that, folks. We lost internet for a moment, and we're back. Don't know when we lost you, but it was a leadoff homer from Kyle Lucier over the monster that gave Brandeis the lead at 2-1. And then a sacrifice fly from Ryan Teddemer, who was the last batter to finish his at-bat. A sacrifice fly out to the warning track in left that scored Victor Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer reached on a double out to left field. Moved to third on a pass ball as Dan O'Leary walked. There's a runner at first, a 3-1 count here to Gomez, And Carvello has walked his second batter of the inning. Kyle Carvello came on to start this half inning. Top of the 7th. And has struggled with his control. Has fallen behind almost every single batter. And he'll face Anthony Nemeko. Nemeko 1 for 3, strikeout looking, a single, and a ground out to third. And that looks like it'll do it for Kyle Carvello. A brief appearance, 2/3 of an inning. 2 runs allowed. It could become 3 depending on what happens to finish it. And we'll take a commercial break and bring you the numbers and name of the new pitcher. UMass Boston all of a sudden finds themselves trailing 3-1.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, and I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
I'm the first undergraduate alumnus to lead this university. I'm very proud of that. I was literally able to transform my life because of the University of Massachusetts, and I want that for every single student that walks through the door.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
Chris Monroe, the new Beacons pitcher. You see there 0-0, 0.00. That's because he's making his collegiate debut. Monroe, number 30 from the right side, a freshman out of Marshfield, Mass. Marshfield High School, 5'8", 180. He'll have to try to get out of this jam. A runner on second with 2 down. UMass Boston finds themselves trailing 3-1 because of a home run and a sacrifice fly. We'll try to bring you the home run right now as Kyle Lucier led off this half inning a while ago with a homer over the monster, the first of the season for Brandeis and the first of his season. As we'll show you that home run right here, and just an inside pitch left up, and Lucier able to get it over the monster. Herzog could only look up at it, and what a boon that is for Brandeis, that leadoff homer, and sort of got under the skin of Carvello as they added on a sacrifice fly from Teddimer. Right now it's runners on first and second after 2 walks sandwich that sac fly, and we'll see what Anthony Nemeko can do. 1 for 3 on the day. A chance if you can get a single or even a double. It might take a really deep double to score Gomez from first. You could really put the pressure on this Beacons team. Down 2 runs with 9 outs to go. You're okay. I mean, despite your struggles, this might be it for O'Neill, who has really caused the Beacons problems. But if you can make it 3 or 4 with the Beacons having only 2 hits, then you got to feel really good if you're this young Judges team.
Definitely. You're right where you want to be. We talked about it earlier. Keep it a low-scoring game, which they've done. They've put a couple runs on the board here in the 7th. A couple of the young guys coming through. Playing from a lead now, which they haven't done much of this year, but right where they want to be.
Chris Monroe, the 4th Beacons pitcher of the day and the first freshman Beacons pitcher to make his collegiate debut. Gets a pop-up on the infield. Searles calling for it. Instead it'll be Monroe. How about that? 2 pitches, gets out of the first and second jam. We head to the bottom of the 7th. The Beacons need some runs, and they need them soon. They find themselves trailing for the first time today. And for one of the rare times this season, they're down 3-1 after 6.5.
Cheer for the stumbles. That he should have had that. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
How you doing, Balls? If you need to, you can switch with Cash for like a half inning or an inning to warm up. What? What do you mean? Is it a new catcher? Yeah, I think it's the catcher. Thirties at first. 30's at first, 10's the second baseman. No, 30's the same, 10's the same, 4's the same, 7's the same. Is it an outfielder change? 11? Well, we got to get that change, but it doesn't look like it's anybody on the infield except for possibly the catcher. It's still O'Neill.
Catcher number 13, Anthony Searles. Ready? Go. What do you see out there?
First pitch is a little bit outside there to Anthony Searles. Bottom of the 7th inning, UMass Boston finds themselves trailing for the first time today. Anthony Searles, the Beacons' 5-hole hitter, quickly ahead 2-0. He grounded out to first to end the first and walked in the 4th. The Beacons looking for their first base runner without 2 outs in an inning, as Searles will pop that one out. Sean O'Neill out for the 7th inning of work. Went 4 2/3 down in Florida, getting a lot more work today.
And making the most of it. He's kept them in this game. Kept them right where they want to be. Low-scoring game.
Well hit by Searles, but that one's going to hold up, and a catch by Dan O'Leary in right field. One change for Brandeis. It's out in left field. It's Shea Nugent replacing Anthony Namako in left. So first change of the day for Brandeis, while the Beacons have gone through a handful of pitchers and a couple of defensive changes. Charlie Hughie started the day in first. He hits one out to center, but right at Ryan Teddemer. 2 quick outs here in the 7th. Not what you want to see when a pitcher's already up there in numbers. You want to make him work. And instead, 2 quick outs, since the first time we'll see Joshua Lopez, the Beacons' junior second baseman, former Little East Conference Rookie of the Year out of New Haven, Connecticut. 375 as a freshman, hit just 214 as a sophomore. God, the Beacons would like to see somewhere in between, or maybe a lot closer to that 375 mark that made him such a successful leadoff base runner as a freshman.
Well, that's the promising thing. You know that he's got it in him. Maybe, like you said, don't expect the 375, but you know that he's better than the 214 hitter that he was a year ago.
1-0 pitch. That one catches the inside corner. A phenomenal defensive player. Saw him turn a barehanded double play in the NCAA Regionals against St. John Fisher. He's also a pretty good outfielder, especially in center. What? 93 pitches thus far for O'Neill, who shakes off the sign from Shaw. 1-1 pitch. Lopez jumps at it and fouls it off to the right side into the construction zone to our right. 1-2 here. The Beacons down to their final 7 outs. Still struggling to get anything going against O'Neill. How deep would you potentially throw O'Neill here, knowing it's a non-conference game, but knowing that he sort of has the Beacons' number, a tailing breaking ball off the corner, 2-2.
He's been pretty efficient. He's sitting at 93 pitches. I wouldn't expect him to go too much further. But like you said, this is a big game for Brandeis, being a strong regional opponent. You want to make sure that you put yourself in your best position to win this ball game.
Another instance where O'Neill hops off the mound, thinking he had strike 3. O'Neill, a 1-2-3 inning in the 2nd and the 6th. He's now retired 6 in a row. He's given up 2 out base runners in the other innings as he has that pitch fouled off. He's at 3-2. O'Neill gave up a single and a double with 2 outs in the first, the Beacons' lone run, and then gave up walks in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That's the entirety of the damage. Just 5 base runners against through 6 2/3. 3-2 pitch coming to Josh Lopez, and he'll foul off another one. Making him work here is O'Neill has to be very close to the 100 pitch mark, and he's at 102. He's at 98. It was one or the other. Trying to do hand signals from about 5 feet away, not always the easiest. 3-2 pitch, foul ball back, and this time I can tell you he's at 99.
Good job, Seth.
That much math I can actually figure out as Brendan Igerbrook will hand a few more balls over to Del Vecchio. UMass Boston trails 3-1 because Brandeis got one back in the fourth and two in the top of the seventh. A leadoff homer from Lucier and then a sacrifice fly from Tedimer as the Beacons went to their fourth and fifth pitchers. That one flared out to right field, should be playable. And the line drive grabbed by O'Leary, who's been the player of the game thus far for Brandeis outside of O'Neill. We head to the eighth. Beacons running out of runs here in their second game of this season. On the other side, the men's lacrosse team, you'll be happy to know, having no such problems. They lead 13-2 in what I believe is the third quarter of play over at James Cotter Field to our left.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
Celebrate the soggy shoes and the slow starts. Celebrate the lessons learned along the way. These are the wins. Not the shiny nail-biting kind. These are the last a lifetime kind.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, then I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school.
Chris Monroe is out to start the eighth after coming on in relief of Kyle Carvello and getting out of a two-runner on, two-out jam. Monroe will face 7, 8, 9. Rakowski, the first batter, takes a breaking ball. As you see Rakowski right there. The 0-1 is hit out to left. Herzog coming in on it, and he'll make the play as Rakowski is retired for the third time today. A pair of strikeouts, a walk, and now a fly out to left. At this point, if you're Brandeis, what are you looking to do? Already leading 3-1. Obviously, pitching and defense a little bit more pertinent, but how big is it here just to either score some runs or maybe go quickly about your business here, trying to get O'Neill stay fresh, stay quick, stay heated?
If your plan is to keep O'Neill in the game, you're nice and quick. Let's get him back out there. Not a big deal if you don't put any runs on the board. If O'Neill's done for the day, let's put as many as we can.
Brian Shaw, the freshman catcher, takes that one low. Quickly ahead, 2-0. Shaw still looking for that first hit of the day. Fly out to center, fly out to left, and a strikeout. I believe that's swinging. Handwriting a little bit difficult there. It was the sixth strikeout victim of the day. 2-0 pitch on the inside corner. That's where pitchers have feasted all day long. Monroe, the fourth pitcher of the day, second righty. The righties have had better luck than the lefties. Both lefties gave up runs, more in 1 run in 4 innings. Carvello, 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning as there's a check swing. Strike 2, 2-2. Joe McGuire was able to get out of a bases loaded jam. 2 innings, 2 hits, and Monroe now has gone 2/3 of an inning in his collegiate debut. He's yet to give up a base runner. 2-2 pitch, nearly catches the hitter Shaw, and the count runs full at 3-2. Brandeis, 3 runs on 7 hits, no errors. The Beacons, 1 run on 2 hits and 1 error here in the top of the 8th. Monroe takes a long look. His 3-2 offering. Strike three. In and out of the glove of Searles. He applies the tag. And that is the 8th strikeout of the day for Brandeis batters. A beautiful breaking ball that caught Shaw. Just look at.
The third baseman, number 7, Kyle Lucier.
Kyle Lucier, the man who hit the go-ahead home run, the first home run of the season for Brandeis, steps up. 9-hole hitter, 1 for 3. Takes that first pitch low. And Josh, you helped Natalia Ardagna, the Beacons head coach, make the lineup all the time for the Beacons softball team. Why do you think he's in the 9-hole, a guy who hit over 300, the only guy on the team, and yet he's seen the fewest at-bats, gets the fewest chances with potentially men on? Seems like an odd choice, although I'm not really questioning it, just maybe looking for some insight from Dave Carlson.
A couple different things. I mean, maybe he's comfortable in that spot, being a younger player. Maybe he's proven in the past to hit better out of the 9 spot. And you also mentioned it earlier today with Rogers on the UMB side. A good 9-hole batter is going to turn that lineup over to the top of the lineup. And if he can do it more often than not, that's a runner on with your leadoff batter up and ready to set the plate for the best part of your lineup.
It's 1-2 here to Lucier, who did not play a year ago, but played 2 seasons ago. So maybe a guy trying to get back into the rhythm of things. 1-2 breaking ball, chopped down the left side, just a bit foul as Boudreaux tracks it down.
That's why you've seen the debate over the years about in Major League Baseball on the National League side about batting the pitcher 8th versus 9th.
And where do you stand on that?
I'm a St. Louis Cardinal fan, so Tony La Russa is my guy. He bats the pitcher 8th. That's where I stand.
1-2 with 2 down to Lucier. Monroe looking for the 1-2-3 inning. He's got it. 4 batters faced, 4 batters down. Chris Monroe having quite the collegiate debut. Now can the Beacons potentially get a rally going and get him a win to boot? Heads to the bottom of the 8th. The Beacons down to their final 6 outs, looking for their first hits since the first inning. See if Sean O'Neill is on for the 8th, or if we're going to finally see the pen of that Brandeis Judges team.
UMass Boston is my first choice because of the incredible theater department.
Because it has an excellent honors college.
Because here I get to interact with professors one-on-one.
Because I'm not going to be crazy in debt when I graduate.
Because at UMass Boston, I've met professors who have changed my life.
My first choice.
My first choice.
My first choice.
My first choice.
Make the University of Massachusetts Boston your first choice. Visit umb.edu/first choice.
Bottom of the 8th, the Beacons will face off against Sean O'Neill for the 8th inning, at least to start. Josh, let's really quickly take a look at that last strikeout from Chris Monroe. This freshman righty showing off a lot of skills here to high-pressure situation.
You talked about it earlier. I mean, you want to see what these guys can do in high-leverage situations, and he's come in and he's established that breaking ball, kept these hitters off balance, worked his way through inning in the 3rd here unscathed.
The Beacons will lead off with Nick Herzog, and then it looks like it's going to be Chris Fowler, the Beacons' junior first baseman and former Wheaton College transfer in the on-deck circle. So Joey Rogers' day is likely done, trying to get a bit of pop on as Herzog fouls the first one back. 8-9-1 for the Beacons. They'll get the middle of that order up at least once more. So they work against Sean O'Neill, the very successful junior righty out of Reading, Mass. That one off the corner, 1-1. He's over 100 pitches on the day through just 4 2/3 innings down in Florida against Augustana. Remember, this Brandeis team winless, 0-4 on their Florida trip. Played all 4 against Augustana. Swung on and missed 1-2 now. UMass Boston back-to-back hits in the first with 2 down. Dave Murphy, single to the shortstop, and Kyle Boudreaux, an RBI double. Since then, just a trio of walks, that's it, as Herzog takes it low. Brandeis has had the pen working for the last 10 or 15 minutes, and it looks like it's a righty up there. Tim Lopez, the freshman right-handed pitcher / second baseman, the lone guy up as Herzog will foul it off. Lopez out of Brooklyn, New York. Could be the first reliever the Beacons see, but that's if they can get O'Neill to work a little bit.
I think the fact that he's thrown here in the 8th answers your question about how important this game is for Brandeis.
And the funny thing is, Lopez, in his one collegiate appearance, he was the guy who had the best start down in Florida. 7 innings of work, 7 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 3 Ks. It looks like Brandeis and Derek Carlson are going with their best arm today against the Beacons. That's a hard hit single up the middle. The Beacons, their first hit since the first. And they've got the leadoff man on for the first time today. Nick Herzog able to break the streak. And now we'll see Chris Fowler step up, the big left-handed first baseman. See if he can put some hard aluminum on the ball and potentially get things really going for the Beacons, as that might be it for O'Neill. The head coach, Carlson's going to come out. Normally, when it happens this late in the game with this many pitches, that means it's the end of the day. We'll see what Carlson does here. He does have another mound meeting if he wants it, but that'll be it for Sean O'Neill. And what a day O'Neill had. Just allowed 3 hits, 1 since the first inning, the 1 run. He ended up striking out 5, which actually might have been to his advantage, as he didn't throw that many pitches on strikeouts, and walked just 3 batters. A phenomenal performance by O'Neill. Now he's going to have to rely on Tim Lopez in the Brandeis bullpen, as the Beacons will get their first crack at someone not named Sean O'Neill after this commercial break. We'll bring you the numbers on Lopez and the pinch hitter Chris Fowler after this commercial break.
Changed my life, and I got there through UMass. So those very specific seminal moments in Paris, the subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown, and it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey, and that all came through the University of Massachusetts, and that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
Tim Lopez is on for the first time today, the first time in New England, although not a New Englander. He's from Brooklyn, New York, attended Eastside Community High School, just 5'7", 165, not the biggest of guys, but had a very nice start down in Florida, the best for any Brandeis pitcher statistically. 7 innings, 7 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 3 Ks versus 1 strikeout, 1.29 ERA. Just see those numbers, 3 strikeouts versus 1 walk. Not a guy who's going to walk a lot of guys, but maybe not a power pitcher either.
No, it looks like he's going to pitch to contact a little bit. I mean, not a huge guy, not an over-assuming guy. Probably pitch to contact a little bit. UMass Boston just needs to make sure that they're seeing the pitches, see what he's got, but making sure that we jump on the first good one here.
Chris Fowler is on to hit for Joey Rogers in the 9-hole. Fowler was the opening day starting first baseman. Ended up going 1 for 3 with a pair of RBI. And right now the Beacons would just be happy to get him on base with the top of the order due up next. Ton of power in the middle of this order. And it even right here, 9 through 5, all these guys are competent of hitting a home run and have done so in the past couple weeks of practice. Is the first pitch a little bit outside, and immediately Lopez blowing on the hand. That's the tough part. You and I haven't been outside in a couple hours. It was sunny but cold when the sun was out. The sun is gone down now. It's got to be probably 5 to 10 degrees cooler out there. The fortunate thing is there's no wind as Lopez misses well outside, 2-0.
Well, and this bullpen has been sitting out there watching O'Neill pitch so well. They haven't had to get up. O'Neill's been efficient. He pitched through the 7th. Came out here in the 8th. They haven't had to work too much. So he's been sitting out there. It's not too warm out there.
Fowler takes another one high, 3-0. Fowler out of Barnstable, Massachusetts, listed at 6'1", 195, a guy who's put in a lot of work in the weight room after transferring into UMass Boston a year ago. Was a defensive replacement pinch hitter for the most part last year. Got some starts at first behind Hughie and Nagel. 3-0 pitch to Fowler. That one just misses, a 4-pitch walk. And now it's interesting. The Beacons have such a big roster, over 35 guys. Wonder if the Beacons use a pinch runner on Fowler now or even a little bit later if the situation arises. Fowler works the pinch hit walk, and it'll bring up Sal Frashino, and Brandon Eigerwald's going to go to the bench. Fowler doesn't have a ton of speed. Also, he's pinch hitting in the right fielder spot, a position he doesn't play, and it'll be Danny Brown coming on to pinch run for the second consecutive game. Brown, a freshman outfielder / infielder out of Hudson, New Hampshire, attended UMass Amherst first semester before transferring to the Beacons, was a quarterback in high school, a really successful one, 3-sport athlete, and he's got some good speed. Came in to score for the Beacons in the 8th against LaSalle College. So good speed right now on the base pass for the Beacons, and Frashino showing bunt. Frashino will pull it back, and finally Lopez finds the strike zone. So good speed on the base pass and at the plate, and now we're going to see one of the assistants for Brandeis come out and talk about the positioning here.
The third baseman actually charged the bunt there. The shortstop misread the defensive assignment and ran towards second. Third base was left uncovered.
Yeah, Herzog didn't have his head up there. 0-1 pitch. Shows bunt and doesn't get a piece of it. 0-2 here to Frashino, the Beacons' leadoff hitter. So that's not what you want to see if you're a Beacons fan. Quickly 0-2. 2 runners on, no outs, trailing by a pair here in the bottom of the 8th. Dan Mantoni in the on-deck circle. It's Herzog at second. He ended O'Neill's day with a single. Fowler worked the 4-pitch walk. 0-2 pitch. Frashino shows it and gets the bunt down. A great job with 2 strikes. Lopez only plays the first, and the Beacons have the game-tying run at second base with 1 down as Frashino, it's a dangerous play, but able to do it nonetheless. Bunting it right back to the pitcher, and the Beacons potentially in business here in the 8th.
It's a lot of trust that you show in your leadoff batter right there, bunting with 2 strikes. But Frashino came through, got the job done.
2 runners on. Brown at second base, the pinch runner. Herzog, at third base after the leadoff single for Mantoni, one of the leaders on this Beacons team. Still looking for his first hit as he pops that one up on the infield. Schaff calling for it at short. Now he's closer to third. Gives for Lucier. They run into each other, and Schaff makes the play. What a huge job holding on to it there. The ball up in the wind, and Brandeis very fortunate there. As Dave Murphy will have to step up. The Beacons nearly caught a huge break. It would have been the bases loaded with 1 down. Instead, Schaff able to snow cone it. And it'll be up to Murphy here with 2 outs. And while Kyle Boudris isn't a guy that you really would be happy facing, you have to think about it with first base open. You don't want to give Murphy an all-region selection that much to hit here with 2 down.
Not at all. We'll see how careful he is.
Lopez down low on the inside half for ball 1.
We needed one of those 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts from last week, Seth.
Yeah. Well, those played some real tricks on the outfielders, including a inside the park home run by LaSalle that was hit to the warning track in center. 1-0 pitch. Murphy chops it off behind the plate. 1-1 now with 2 down. Beacons have Herzog at third, Brown at second. Good speed. You have to figure that on a single they're going to send Brown unless it's directly at one of the outfielders and hit extremely sharply. Brought Brown into pinch run for Fowler. 1-1 to Murphy, who had an infield single in the first, nearly hit by that pitch. 2-1. Murphy, a single and a run scored in the first, pop up to short in the fourth, a strikeout swinging in the 6th. Dave did have 1 hit and 2 at-bats against LaSalle. 2-1 with 2 down, 2 runners on. Murphy hits that one out to right center. Going back on it is O'Leary. That one's deep. O'Leary tracking it, and he's able to make the catch. What a big play from Dan O'Leary, who's had a huge game. The Beacons, just like Brandeis has done today, leave a couple runners in scoring position. We head to the 9th. The Beacons able to get some base runners on, but still unable to crack that Brandeis pitching staff. The Beacons need 2 in the 9th, but first they've got to shut down the judges. Monroe will be out for his second full inning of work.
The 5-campus UMass system is the university that educates the workforce of Massachusetts. We recognize that we are truly here for a reason, and that recognition inspires us and drives us every single day.
Monroe back out for his second full inning of work. Already an inning and a third for Chris Monroe. He's retired all 4 batters he's faced, including a pair of strikeouts. Looking at this game, Brandeis has left 8 runners. For UMass Boston, they haven't had that many base runners, but they've now left 5, including 2 huge ones there. 2 runners on with 1 out, and the Beacons don't get it done with their 3 and 4 hitters. Now, this game is certainly not done, but that's a situation if you're UMass Boston, 2 of your seniors, 2 of your best hitters, 2 of your all-raging guys. That's a situation where you really have to think, these are the guys who are going to do it. We're going to tie this game, and then we're going to have a clean slate. Instead, Tim Lopez, the freshman starter, now in a relieving situation, able to get it done and keep the lead for O'Neill, who pitched so well through 7+ innings.
You expect to score there offensively. Defensively, they got to come out. They've got to get past the last half inning. Make sure that they hold Brandeis scoreless here, and do what they did last inning. Get some runners on, and hope that the outcome's a little bit different.
Jay Schaff, the leadoff hitter, will step up to lead off the 9th. This is his 5th plate appearance. 0 for 4, a pair of groundouts, a pair of strikeouts swinging. This is his first at-bat against Monroe, the 4th Beacons pitcher of the day. Monroe has been one of the better ones. Takes that pitch just off the corner. 2-0 now to Schaff. He's senior out of Cheshire, Connecticut. A lot of seniors on this team, even after graduating 8 a year ago, and 2 grad students, but also a lot of freshmen. 16 freshmen, just 8 returners from last year's team. This is a team that would desperately like to get win number 1 out of the way in their New England opener after losing 4 straight a couple weeks ago down in Florida. Ball popped up Monroe well off the mound, but has no chance. And that one's over our heads in the press box and out of play. 2-1 now to Schaff. Will be followed by Oppenheimer and O'Leary. For the Beacons, still get 4, 5, 6 in the 9th, as they likely will work against Lopez. Hasn't been an established starter yet, or established closer yet for Brandeis, as they graduated their closer who had 5 saves a season ago. 3-1, Monroe trying to avoid giving up his first base runner of his collegiate career. 3-1 pitch, fouled off, and the count runs full. Remember, the Beacons right back in action tomorrow afternoon, as the Beacons will host MIT in a big one starting at 3 p.m. We'll have the broadcast starting at 2:50. Ball hits softly down the third base side. Boudris comes across, picks it up, throws it across, and Schaff is now 0 for 5, the first time he's hit it to anyone but the second baseman. For Brandeis, they'll finally get their first home games. And I say finally. There's a lot of teams in New England that won't have played a game before this Saturday, but they'll host Bates for a doubleheader starting at noon on Saturday. I mean, that's the craziest part about this game. This is game 2 for UMass Boston, game 5 for Brandeis. There are teams in past years, because of snow accumulation, which hasn't been an issue this year, that won't play their first game until the 20th, 21st, 25th, 27th of the month of March.
Well, that's the thing about the Florida trip you talked about. That's why it's so important now with Monon Park here, is to be able to get games in before you go to Florida. A lot of the softball side, the baseball side, a lot of times we'll go down and our first opponent will have played those 8 or 10 games already, and it's a huge advantage going against those teams.
Victor Oppenheimer has a pair of doubles in his last 2 at-bats, also has a walk, a run scored, and flew out to right. Stands at 2 for 3. He scored that all-important insurance run back in the 7th, doubled with 1 down, and then came over to third on a pass ball and scored on a sac fly from Tedemer.
That was a huge at bat. Carvello had given up the home run, but came back and got a strikeout the very next at batter, and then Oppenheimer stepped up and drilled that double, sort of put Carvello right back in the hole.
Right down the left field line, a couple feet fair. 2-2 to Victor Oppenheimer, coming to Brandeis all the way from California. West Hills, California, Chaminade High School. Murphy, the backhand, it's short to throw across in plenty of time. And that's 2 quick outs for Monroe, who's been a stopper for this Beacons bullpen. The question, though, is do they have the runs that they need in the bottom of the ninth? Trailing by 2. The Beacons scored the first run of the game with 2 outs in the bottom of the first. Brandeis tied it in the 4th, left the bases loaded in the 4th and the 5th, and then got 2 back in the 7th on the Lucier homer and the Tedemer sac fly. He's currently on deck as Dan O'Leary, the one guy who the Beacons have not retired, steps up. O'Leary, a single, a double, a hit by pitch, a walk, and a run scored. Not too bad, especially for a team that has really struggled to get the offense going. O'Leary, just a freshman at Linfield, and maybe there's a reason that he was put in the 3-hole despite not really succeeding down in Florida. This guy has a lot of potential.
I mean, you've seen it today. Coach has seen something. I mean, he knows his team.
A lot better than we do.
A lot better than we do, obviously. He's shown that he can handle this third spot today. With with a single and a double, he's had 4 great at bats. Been on base 4 times, which is something that you expect from an experienced player. And here you've got a freshman doing it. His 5th game of his collegiate career.
Great 12-6 breaking ball there for strike 2. 2-2, and that one bounces up there. Count runs full. Monroe has already gone a full 2 innings, looking to make it 7 up and 7 down in his collegiate debut. Freshman righty out of Marshfield, Mass. has looked good. Beacons would just love to get back into the dugout and look for a comeback victory, something that they were very good at last season here at home. A couple of walk-off wins. That one catches the front arm, and they're going to keep him in there, but that was 3-2, so they're going to give him the base anyway, but it's going to be a walk and not a hit by pitch. Now the Beacons are going to claim that front elbow might have been over the plate, and now we've got another discussion. You can definitely see both sides.
Of course. I mean, he obviously hung the arm out over the plate there. And that's what Coach Egerbro's asking, is if you're going to call him back for hanging the arm out, and he's already up against the side of the batter's box. How is that not a strike?
Well, we'll never know. It's a 2-out walk, and it'll give O'Leary his 5th trip on base. 2 walks, a hit by pitch, almost a second one, a double, and a single. As O'Leary's over there at first base looking for another insurance run, already up 2. And Ryan Tedemer, who had that sacrifice fly back in the 7th, will step up. Strike on the outside corner, low fastball. Tedemer, a walk, a strikeout looking, a single to short, and a sacrifice fly back in the 7th, his 5th trip.
Big for UMass Boston to keep Brandeis scoreless here and get to the ninth, only down 2.
The 0-1 pitch. His dad is over to the left. A Springfield news anchor who made it a little bit easier on us on identifying who he was because he's wearing the affiliate jacket of his news station. Also wearing a bright red jacket. And he's taking pictures of his son. 1-1 with 2 down. That one gets through the legs. It'll go for a wild pitch. And there's 2-1 as the base runner O'Leary moves forward. Went right through the wickets of Searles, who was looking for a different kind of pitch there. And a chance for Brandeis to tack on another run. Monroe's looked good, but has run into trouble these last 2 batters. 2-1 with 2 down. Breaking ball, check swing, might have been on the outside corner either way. 2-2 with 2 down.
Monroe's got a little Craig Kimbrell in the pre-pitch stance there.
Monroe looks good. Kid who don't know a lot about, but has been pretty effective today. Is misses outside, 3-2. He has run quite a few 3-ball counts, but again, with the lack of control in some of these guys, I don't say lack of control. There hasn't been anybody who's been extremely wild, but it's just so difficult to grip the ball when it's this cold out. It's hard to keep your hands warm. 3-2 pitch. Breaking ball in the inside corner. Chris Monroe picks up his 4th strikeout. And we head to the bottom of the ninth. The Beacons need a comeback. They trail 3-1. We'll see if UMass Boston has it in them or if Brandeis is en route to their first win of the season.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
We'll get our 3rd pitcher of the day for Brandeis. It's Liam Coughlin. He of the great hair, the senior righty out of Townsend, Mass. Attended Lowell Catholic, 6 foot, 180. The numbers do not look so pretty. He took the loss in one of the team's 4 losses down there in Florida. For Coughlin, his numbers, 4 1/3 innings in a start. So this is his first relief appearance. 8 hits, 5 runs, 5 earned. 1 walk, 1 K. And for Coughlin, this is a bit of a different situation coming out of the pen. Certainly wants to get some confidence. Last year, though, was one of the team's better pitchers. He was 2nd in innings, made 4 appearances out of the bullpen, 7 starts, 4-1 with a 4 ERA, 26 strikeouts versus 16 walks. You're going to a guy who's one of your veterans, one of your most reliable pitchers from past years, and hoping that he can get you this win after using the top 2 guys from Florida already, O'Neill and Lopez. It's all up to Coughlin here. You'd have to expect as the bullpen is full of guys just perched over the yellow tape out there in right field. Doesn't look like anyone else is warming for either side. First pitch from Coughlin catches the inside corner to Kyle Boudris, the Beacons cleanup hitter. Boudris is 1 for 3, a double and a pair of flyouts to center. He'll be followed by Anthony Searles and Charlie Hughey. Boudris fouls it off quickly behind 0-2. So the good news is that Coughlin is able to locate its pitches, at least thus far. Boudris does have the Beacons' lone RBI of the game. An RBI double back in the first that scored Murphy from first base. The 0-2 pitch, that one just off the corner, 1-2. Brandeis looking for their first win of the season after going 19-17-1 a year ago. Beacons went 30-16, already 1-0 on the season. Boudris fouls one off towards us. Thankfully, the netting's there. Also, the windows are closed, so that would take a pretty hard hit foul ball to catch us.
I had it, Seth.
I'm glad you did, because my hands were not up. 1-2 pitch to Boudris. That one is hit out towards short right, and getting under it is Oppenheimer for the first out of the inning. That one looked like it might have a chance, but just stayed up there long enough for Oppenheimer to get there.
Cold weather, ball's not flying, bats are a little cold, figuratively and literally, Seth.
The Beacons had just 2 hits through the first 6 innings. They were back-to-back in the first. Then they were able to put runners at 2nd and 3rd in the 8th inning as Nick Herzog had a leadoff single to Chase O'Neill. And then Chris Fowler worked a pinch hit walk. But UMass Boston left 2 on with 1 out in the 8th, and now they're down to their final 2 outs as Hughie takes the first pitch fastball for strike 1. Breaking ball for strike 2.
He's come in and done exactly what he needed to do, and that's pound the strike zone, establish himself early, not allow any free base runners.
It really seems like Brandeis' coaching philosophy, at least from a pitching standpoint, is work quickly. Keep your defense active, because every time we saw O'Neill and then Lopez and now Coughlin, these guys are getting the ball and they're immediately getting ready. As Hughie, a half-hearted check swing, and the Beacons, rather Searles, a half-hearted check swing, and the Beacons are down to their final out here in game number 2 of the 2017 season. That was the Beacons' first strikeout since the 6th, just their 6th overall. The Beacons pitching staff has struck out 10.
It's not an overpowering pitching staff, but like you said, they pound the strike zone. They don't allow you to hit anything hard. They keep the defense on the toes, and the defense has played well today.
Coughlin, 3 batters, 3 first pitch strikes. A fastball on the outside corner, 0-1 to Hughie. If Hughie were to reach, the Beacons have a pinch hitter in the on-deck circle for Josh Lopez, as that one is outside 1-1. And some of the fans here at Monin have given up and are heading towards their cars. 1-1 pitch, swung on and missed, 1-2. One and two with 2 down. Brandeis bench is up, hoping to celebrate shortly and potentially to warm up on their bus on the short trip back to Waltham. Although, depending on what time it is, it might be a longer bus trip just because of the traffic. 2-2, 2 down. Beacons need 2 runs. That one bounces away. 3-2 now. 2 of the Beacons, sophomore second baseman, first baseman, third baseman, backup catcher, whatever the Beacons need him to do. Currently playing at first after starting the game at second. 3-2 with 2 down. The Beacons hoping to get to that pinch hitter. Still trying to get the number on him. 3-2 pitch, and it looks like it caught the knob of the bat. And we'll do it again. Fouled off. Looks like the pinch hitter, if the Beacons get to it, would be Ryan McCormick, freshman outfielder / catcher out of Cumberland, Rhode Island, looking for his first collegiate plate appearance. Hughie just looking to extend this game. A walk would do it. Hit by pitch, a hit, an error. Hughie swings and misses, and the Beacons fall by a 3-1 score. Coughlin comes on and picks up the save, but really the story today was Sean O'Neill, 7+, able to shut down the Beacons, hold them to just 3 hits, and this is a big one for Brandeis. Their first win in the season, they moved to 1-4. The Beacons fall to 1-1. And the Beacons will be back in action tomorrow. Josh, any final thoughts on this one as Brandeis able to come away with a big victory after going 0-4 2 weeks ago in Florida?
Look, you came in with a team that's seemingly struggling offensively. We said at the beginning they needed to keep it a low-scoring game, rely on their pitching and their defense, and they did. UMass had opportunities to score early on. Couldn't get anything across other than that initial run in the first, and then didn't really hit the ball hard through the middle innings. Tried to scrape something across in the 8th. Couldn't quite get anything going, and faced some good pitching today.
Well, that'll do it for us here from Monin Park. Brandeis wins by a 3-1 score. 3 runs on 7 hits, no errors. The Beacons 1 run, 3 hits, 1 error. They'll certainly look to get the offense going tomorrow against MIT as the Engineers come in as a all-region pick and a team that's going to contend for the NUMAC. We'll be right back here tomorrow at 2:50. Thanks so much for joining us. For my partner, Josh Bartley, myself, Seth Dorensky, thanks so much for watching. Brandeis gets the win by a 3-1 score.
Well, you did a good job today.